Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream, gamers all. Hope you guys are doing well. Sorry about the late start today. You know, just got busy doing stuff, and I had the option of continuing to edit video. Oh, let me get my mic, or going to the gym, which is good for my soul. So I did what was good for my soul. But hope you guys are doing great. I have been chatting with a few people earlier today about some of the recent changes to the recent updates and kind of what's going on. It seems like we're kicking the can down the road a bit. I think that all of the changes for ZOS are, it was a little bit half baked to begin with, so they're having to do more changes than they maybe anticipated or that they normally do, and so I mean more half baked than typical. So yeah, we're not going to see a whole lot this week, but I do have a lot to talk about as far as multi-classing. So I just want to quickly go through and talk about all of the, the recent patch notes, which shouldn't take very long, and then we'll talk about multi-classing. What up, chicken? What's going on? Hello, everybody. Welcome in. I see everybody dropping in. Say hello, guys, if you want. Elder Scrolls Online kicks off week 3 of the PTS cycle. The main focus of this week's PTS update is to address a variety of fixes and improvements to the Season of the Worm Cult Part 1 content. We will find fixes for Aussie and Cage, a good chunk of quests. You know what? Let me blow this up, actually. Let me get this up where you guys can see it. I'm sorry. Hey, what's up, noob? Noobaka. I like it. What's up, Robert? How's it going? Patch notes were disappointing. Yeah. Yep. There's not a whole lot to them. Chicken says going to have setups ready. Then it gets gutted. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, there's a bunch of changes that need, there's a bunch of changes that need done. So much so you almost would think they would have done it a month or two ago. Hey, I'm just here for the ride, Just here for the ride. What do we got? For those looking for combat updates, don't worry. We're worried, aren't we? I mean, I'm not worried. Whatever happens, happens. We're giving you the heads up that next week we'll give a large chunk of combat adjustments. Stay tuned for PTS Week 4. All right. Additionally, White Strix Mayhem is available for testing this week. There are also general fixes for Greymore, Fallen Banners, Necrom, and base game content. Cool. So do we get anything? What do we got here? Overview, new features, updates, big changes, base game. We'll just look through real quick. Not interested in PvP right now. Sorry for those that are PvP minded. You probably have some other creator that's probably more focused on PvP that you want to watch. Appreciate your video you did the other day with Ratman. Really interesting points you raised in it, and I'm hopeful that ZOS listened to that kind of feedback. Hey, Nubaka, that's really great feedback, and I will pass it on to Ratman as well. Thanks for watching. I'm glad it is interesting and helpful. Yeah, man. Yeah. Hope they listen. A lot of us have given up on ZOS listening, man. They're going to do what they're going to do, and we're going to have fun regardless, That's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, I'm saying flexible. There's a small Nightblade change. Okay, cool. Attack animations. Though many have been fixed, some abilities still contain extraneous movements. Okay, casting. Yeah, I actually read all this now that I think about it already. This is weird. Like they're not addressing the biggest problems, which I hope they fixed, because things were just like not working at all. Depending on what you did. If you were trying to do like a heavy attack, at least for me, I don't know if it was a certain class combination that was causing it, but everything was freaking out. Aussie and Cage, okay. Seeking Spark Surge and Seeking Forge Fire do not deal damage. This will be fixed in a future update. All right, so things aren't working. Cool. What have we got? Nightblade, Assassination. Okay, Master Assassin. Reduce the critical chance granted from this passive to 3.3 and 6.6 down from 8.8. Okay. Cool. They're Hey guys, dear Zoz, I don't think Nightblade's the problem. I think it might, maybe this tweak needed doing, but maybe the Arcanist Beam is the problem. Whatever. 100%. I've got to run off to work. Okay, cool, man. Well, thanks for jumping in and saying hi. Yeah, have a great day at work. Hopefully it's not too bad. Gets done quickly. Subclassing. Let me see. You fixed an issue that prevented swapping subclass skill lines. Okay, cool. This was just, yeah. Not a big deal. Is that literally it? Oh my God, that's it. Okay, you weren't joking. All right, cool. I knew it was short. I didn't read last week's patch notes, so I was gonna check real quick what they were, just real briefly, guys. Just real briefly. Sorry if there's a lot of scrolling on the screen. Let's see what the did they change anything? Oh yeah, Grim Focus. I knew about that. Daedric Summoning, Daedric Protection fixed an issue where this passive would not activate. Okay. Expert Summoner, this passive increase your max stamina. And magic and stamina, I remember this. No longer require a permanent pet to be active to gain the benefits, but max health does still require the condition to be met. Based on a lot of the initial feedback we've seen, there are some very good cases about how walking this passive back to a pet build hurt those who don't want to subclass. While we are still going to keep Daedric Summoning focused on what the name implies, we do realize we can still account for the fact not every ability in this skill line is about summoning. In this case, the passive will be slightly less dense than something like Magicka Flood, while offering a potential advantage if you lean further into the skill line. This exact solution isn't something we can apply everywhere, largely because this split can lead to a significant amount of performance drain, but it is something that works in this case where we are gaining something both for players and the servers. This doesn't make any sense to me. Health doesn't need to be split off so that you have to have a pet active. Unless they just, PvP, they don't want to give them a free line of health. Like, you might as well just do away with the line of health then, because no one's going to be running pets. Like, a heavy attack build? Solo? An odd choice. They're spending time doing this instead of doing something useful. But, you know. Yeah, PvP change, yeah, so you can't have more health, but I mean, is that even going to be an issue in PvP anymore? Or aren't people going to be multi-classed out of that? I don't know. Maybe not. But just do away with the health line. Problem solved. I don't know. Whatever. Sure, sounds good. Polar Wind. Oh yeah, Polar Wind. I forgot about this change. I guess I knew about all these guys because maybe I did read these. I knew about all these somehow. Cool. Yeah, they just made Polar Wind less good. This was interesting. So let me read it. Increase the self-healing over time of this ability by 11.1%, reducing healing of the ally targeted portion of this ability by 33%. The ally targeted heal no longer applies a heal over time. I guess also a PvP thing? I have no idea why they would do this if it wasn't for PvP. With subclassing here, we're toned down the raw power of this burst heal so it doesn't stand above others for group play. The self-heal portion of this ability will be increased to make it more suitable for tanks, while the ally healing will be reduced to ensure it doesn't surpass other ally-targeted burst heals in all situations. Sure. Whatever. I don't know. I don't think it needed to be changed for PvE, that's for sure. I guess you could pocket heal someone else in PvP, and it's a pretty massive heal, so maybe that did need to change. That's fine. It's constantly the thing that, you know, PvP and PvE, we cause problems for each other. PvP change, Polar Winds would get heavily spammed, healing yourself and an ally. Yeah. Okay, cool. There it is. All right. Well, yeah, that makes sense, I suppose. Really expensive skill. Mender's Bond fixed an issue where some focus and signature scripts were not properly activating when using this Grimoire. Oh, really? Interesting. I wonder what that was. I don't even know. Cool. And then they made some changes to Aussie and Cage. A lot of these are like bug fixes and stuff, it felt like to me. Okay. Well, I think we're done, aren't we? What else is there? Let me make sure that the PTS is updated. I don't think I did it earlier today, so let me do that right now. Not a whole lot there. Not a whole lot going on. Anything that is sticking out to you guys that you want to chat about, just to kind of put it in the queue here, let me know. Drop in the comments. Chicken says, what if we just nerf all ESO PvP? Wait, maybe, hold on. What if we just nerf all so PvP is nice and balanced? Just send PvP players into a card game. Hey, Chicken, that's an idea, man. No, it's, you know, like people PvE and PvP people get mad at each other, and it's like, dude, it's no, it's neither one of our faults, you know. Like I PvP some, but I'm mostly a PvE player, and yeah, you know. Would you be willing to review another creator's video? Robert, I tend not to want to do that. There is one out there that someone has mentioned before, and I thought about doing it. So what do you got? What do you got? Who is it? I don't want to be bashing anybody else, you know? I'm sure nobody wants that. When's the rank 1 push on Tales of Tribute? Man, I probably could do it now, huh? Unless J. Hart Ellis. J. Hart Ellis is really good. I think I beat him like once. And he plays a lot, I think. I think he still plays a lot. He used to play a whole lot. Yeah, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, Daedric. I understand it can get sticky. Yeah, that's what somebody mentioned. Puppies did a video with a really interesting take on the new meta. Yeah, we could pop that up. We could take a look. We could take a look. Excuse me while I pull this over to the other screen and get logged in so that we don't have to watch ads. 1 second while I do that, guys. Yeah, we can pull it up and take a look. Somebody else mentioned that video to me earlier. Oh gosh, I gotta two-factor authenticate. 1 second here. Oh no. Maybe I can. The PTS is now EU. Oh no, is it seriously? Oh god, is it already that time? Let me see. It's not working. Let's try it one more time. I haven't done anything on EU. Will template be available to subclass without max on other classes? Yes, Chicken. Chicken, you have to, the way PTS is set up right now, man, you have to do it several times. Like you've got, now normally there's 2 options for like higher level, or 1 option. Now there's 3. Anyways, there's an extra option. That's what I'm trying to say. And you have to, I don't know. I think you have to make 1 of each character, and then you might need to make like 3 characters to get everything unlocked for you. And then you gotta, if you want everything, they changed it a while back so that it's so much harder to play test. And I think you have to use the bag of bags, so that you got to like pull out the gear you want, I believe. And it's pretty annoying. It's been a little bit. I stopped doing it after the changes because it wasn't worth it to me. I didn't want to spend my time doing that. Honestly, it was a little bit, you know, a little bit frustrated, if I'm being honest, with the way they did that. All right, let me see here. I've got it up now, or I almost got it up. Let me see. I don't know how all that's spelled. Hopefully if I type in enough info, we'll find them. There we go. 1 moment, guys. We're just getting up this video, and we're going to take a look at it. Pull it over here. Cool. Yeah, no problem, man. And yeah, my video on how to set up the PTS is no longer, like, some of it's useful and still helpful, so I left it up, but it's no longer everything you need. Yeah. All right. I think here, is this it? New 12 and 4-man meta for tanking with the subclassing. Cool. Yeah, we can take a look.
Everybody is...
All right. I actually listened to this earlier while I was at the gym because somebody else sent it to me, as I mentioned. And if you guys want, we can. He does some incredibly great things for video editing and to keep the video entertaining. And I'm going to point them out as we get through it because they're really good. He does a really good job of it.
Losing their mind over the near 180k parses we've seen on the PTS cycle with the new subclassing system, but nobody has really talked about just how impactful the system is from the support side of raiding. This thumbnail is no lie. I put together a tank build that is literally unkillable. With over 160k in shielding, I was able to take Olmsmex on...
All right, so as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about... So first off, we started off with some hype, right? 180k parse. Cool, we got some hype there. He also mentioned and kind of hinted at, no one's talked about the thing that I'm going to talk about, That's another thing to draw you in, get you to watch the rest of the video. And then now we're talking about a tank build with like that's kind of insane, right? Kind of ridiculous. So there's, three things right at the beginning that he's already hooked you, and we're 21 seconds into the video. This is good YouTube video making right here. 10 out of 10. He's doing an amazing job here.
Hard mode unblocked with.
Now, I am going to look at this bar, and there's some nonsense on this bar, to make this tank build, but it doesn't matter. It's just for the hype, right? Totally fine, and he's not lying. That's the other thing. Is like some people will like be pretty deceptive about the stuff that they're telling you about. They'll tell you a build is unkillable. I think this thing has the shielding that it says. Would you ever run this in content? I don't think so. Probably not. But, it's a meme build. It's funny. It's totally worth it.
Without my health pool even moving. It is seriously insane. This video is going to go over subclassing and the most obvious implications from the tank perspective, discussing what I think the meta, main, and off tank setups for 12-man will look like. And
he said most obvious. I'm curious. We'll see, I guess.
We'll even look at a stupid useful 4-man build, finishing with the invincible 160k plus shield build as advertised. As a quick disclaimer, this is only week 2 of the testing server, and the system is very obviously easy to abuse, so don't be surprised if a lot of what we're seeing week 1 doesn't go live. For now though, this is what we're looking at.
That's all fair. All fair.
To best understand why I set these tank builds up the way I did, we first have to have a decent understanding of how the meta raid comp is changing so that we know where our buff and debuff responsibilities lie. The biggest impact to tanking with subclassing actually has a lot to do with the current meta DPS spec. The current DD meta is looking to combine Herald of the Tome from the Arcanist, Assassination from the Nightblade, and Boneyard from the Necromancer. Each of these trees give passives that increase penetration and critical damage. The Arc passive Splintered Secrets got a buff that increases pen by 1240 per Herald of the Tome ability slotted, which means that instead of 1998 pen, this passive is now worth 1240. Likewise, the Crow passive Dismember now gives 3271 pen instead of 1500. With these 3 skill trees, we also get 2 different passives.
The only thing that the tank so far, I'm like, I got a couple of questions, but everything looks good.
Is for crit damage. Faded Fortune from Herald of the Tome, which gives 12%, and the Hemorrhaging passive from the Assassination tree, which gives another 10% crit damage. Historically, to hit the pen and crit caps, we need specific buffs provided by the tanks and healers, and from damage sets as well. However, these massive changes mean that we can get rid of sets like Alkosh, EC, and Lucent Echoes to hit these caps. Let's look at the math very briefly here. Every DD has the CP passive Piercing worth 700 pen, Velothi is in the meta right now, adding another 1650, then the Arc and Crow passives put us at 8,101.
This is basically what we're seeing, like the other side of what we're seeing on tanks, where you're just getting a ton of armor from like 3 different skill classes, or 3 different skill lines rather, and so it changes what you were doing quite a bit just by giving these things for free. It's like everybody's an Arcanist, kind of thing. But he does make some points about the meta that might be informative. Yeah. I think he does, man. I think he does. I was when I was talking about that stuff at the very beginning. This is really good. Like he gets you hooked in the first part and like has you interested to like watch through the entire video. And that's like good YouTube video design. There are ways to do that, and I'm not talking about him specifically. There are ways to do that is very disingenuous. That is really like kind of clickbaity, that is not great. And then there are ways to do it that are really great, and you fulfill the promise and stuff like that. I mean, he says he fulfills on the promise, so he's going to give it to us later on. No issues with that. I just, as someone who does YouTube, I look at this and I'm like, this is really well done. The other thing is his transitions are good. They're not like multi-million-dollar broadcasting good, but they're incredibly good, especially for YouTube, better than mine. I started just doing jump cuts. I actually just kind of random YouTube stuff, but I actually decided a little bit ago that doing a lot of the editing stuff, while I want to do that and it's really important to me, like I want to have the highest quality videos I can, I realize that it honestly just doesn't matter as much, and so I've just tried to double down on putting out more videos and putting out the most high quality content that's the most accurate I can, and that's you want to be able to do both. Don't get me wrong, but that's just where I've been choosing to spend my energy. So would you still make the assumption he's making in pugs? It seems like it's only the sweaty groups. Well, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about specifically, Robert. I don't think we've got it yet. Or do you mean this? Do you mean the penetration? These penetration numbers and these increased to critical numbers, I would like 50-50 these get changed. Zoss has done crazier things. I could also see them changing them and tuning them down and doing all kinds of other stuff, man. So who the hell knows? I would not be making a raid composition right now that I would like publish. I want to think about it. I don't mind talking about it, figuring stuff out, but I'm not like trying to publish like a raid comp, and nor would I like what he's saying. I assume, I'm just assuming, like I'd have to pull out a calculator just like, you know, he did for this and check the numbers. But right now the penetration is so much higher that yes, you do not need Alkosh. That's what we've been doing in the PTS runs, if that's what you're asking. Well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I wasn't fishing for a compliment, but I do appreciate it. The pin numbers and what DDs will bring. Yeah. This is correct. Like, I mean, yeah, all DDs being in essentially that setup, that seems very likely. Again, like all the DD stuff, I expect major changes to. So, what is the best right now? I do not expect to necessarily. I do not necessarily expect to be the best in, you know, after next week. I expect there to be a decent amount of DPS changes, and that could very well, all of a sudden we could not, none of us running a Nightblade skill line, none of us running Crow skill line. They could just gut it, and it would totally change. So that's the situation we're in. I do like this as like a preview of like, hey, here's what's going on. This is also probably good for ZOS because they probably haven't thought this through. So this is good information for them to have as well. But yeah, what he's saying is correct. I wouldn't, my stuff about tanks and healers, the reason I've done content on them, or well, I've done on tanks. I have one prepped. I'm doing one on a healer right now. You guys haven't seen it yet. Is because I don't think hardly anything's going to change with it. The DPS stuff, a lot of it's going to change.
Add simple pen debuffs like Major Breach, Minor Breach, and Crusher, and that will put us at 19,100 pen. 900 over the 18,200 cap. It's super
Here,
simple.
let's go back real quick. Sorry. Major Breach, Minor Breach, cool. His shielding build, I don't think had either one of these, by the way. Which is okay, it's a meme build. But that's like one of the many reasons why like you're probably not going to run this. Crusher enchant, yeah, why would you not have it? Piercing CP, yep, it's a passive. You get it for free if you got enough CP. Velothi Mage Amulet, yep, probably still going to be ran. There's no reason not to be running it now. And then, yeah, these, yep, this all, I mean, all the math checks out. These are the two passives you can grab. It does make it where there's one build or, you know, mostly one build, but yeah, that's what's going on.
100 pen. 900 over the 18,200 cap. It's super simple. In crit damage 2, everybody starts with 50%. Then our DDs will be able to run 7 medium since they're at the pen cap. And this plus minor force from Velothi and our arc and blade passives will bring us to 96% crit damage. Add major force and minor brittle, and now we're at 126%. Just 1% over the cap. So to hit our essential.
And there's multiple ways of doing what he just showed. And we might find that there's some stuff that makes more sense than what he just showed. But no, that's not a critique. That's just saying, hey, he's presenting something. Just realize, and I do the same thing, guys. Everybody does this. If you're presenting something, just realize oftentimes we could always go deeper, you know, but then every video would be 2.5 hours long. So
caps, we simply need Major Breach, Minor Breach, Crusher, Major Force, and Minor Brittle. After this, we just need to account for the miscellaneous buffs that are important to a raid comp. Things like Off Balance, Damage Orb, the Knives, Minor Vuln, Major Minor Courage, and then sets like MK Zen and Slayer. Without getting into too much detail, the knives, and therefore off balance, will most likely come from the DDs, as well as damage orb and sets like MK and Zen. And then the courage buffs will probably come from the healer and damage dealer banners, since Xena's was nerfed. This leaves us with minor.
Dude, this is incredibly dense. Hold on, what all did he say here?
Without getting into too much detail, the knives, and therefore off balance, will most likely come from the DDs, as well as damage orb and sets like MK and Zen. And then the courage buffs will probably come from the healer and damage dealer banners, since Xena's was nerfed. This leaves us with minor Vuln and Slayer. In addition to this, healers in the
I think there are other places where you can get minor courage from. Everybody's putting it on the banner right now. I'm probably wrong because everybody is doing this, so I'm probably getting something wrong in my head. But I could have sworn that there was a couple of scribing skills that would still didn't have a cap on the number of people they buffed. Is it not like the healing morph of the Mages Guild Ulfsild's contingency? Is that not does that not have a cap? I thought it didn't have a cap. There is also, yeah, I mean the banner's fine. It seems like a shame to me, but again, so many people have said this. Other things you could do is you could do the healing tether and walk over the group. But that's only going to work in certain situations. I just wonder if there's not a scribing skill, and I haven't gone through and tested all of them. Hey, Crafty. Hey, Lirio. What's going on? Anybody know that's out there off the top of their head? Is it not Ulfsild's contingency? I bet the Healer's Haven maybe has some notes on some of those. Healer's Haven does some great work for the community. If anybody out there, Healer's Haven, thank you for all the work you do.
past have been responsible for Frost Cloak, a skill that gives everybody in your group major resolve. This is found in the Warden's tank tree though, and so healers selecting green balance won't have access to this, and thus it will fall on the tank. The main and off tank setups in this video split these buff responsibilities and are built with them in mind, so let's take a look. The way the
Does he tank? I guess that was his video. He was tanking there. You're running 2 banners in group anyways for primary buff, so why not stick minor courage on it? Okay. Yeah, that's fair. On a healer? I think you said healer though, right? But I guess, yeah, on some of the DPS. I don't know. Is the banner working right too? Like all the buffs and everything where it's 2 buffs will actually proc on the group and it's actually working correctly? You're telling me, Daedric, so I'm sure that you've checked all these things, so you know all this. I have my speed on YouTube set to 1.5 or something. I was watching earlier, and it made you sound crazy. Oh, that's funny.
Meta is shaking up, tanks and healers are going to likely prioritize ult gen whenever possible, but we still need some buffs that come from trees that don't offer any passive ult gen. I think it will be best to put the non-ult trees all on one roll so that the other supports can stack into ult gen as much as possible, and I have assigned this task to the main tank. The main tank build combines the DK's Earthenheart tree.
Yeah, so I wanna walk through this a bit. I think. Well, let me let him cook, and then we'll talk about it. I think ulti-gen is a little bit being. People are talking about ulti-gen, and now we have a lot of ways of getting just a ton of ultimate back. And at some point, you just don't need any more ultimate. But I haven't ran through the math or the numbers, so maybe it works or tried it out. So.
Crow's Bone Tyrant tree, and the Warden's Winter's Embrace tree. Since we don't have Zenkosh, Stonefist and Igneous weapons will need to be run by the tank as opposed to a healer, because the healer can simply spec for ult gen more efficiently than a tank. A, they can use better ult gen sets like the Pearl's Mythic, and B, a lot of healing trees tend to have more passives that directly relate to ult cost or ult gen. Then we select the Warden's Winter's Embrace tree for Frost Cloak, as well as Winter's Revenge, since this skill with a charged Ice Staff will allow for really strong AoE minor brittle up times, and will therefore act as our main source of the as well as Winter's Revenge, since this skill with a charged Ice Staff will allow for ult gen sets like the Pearl's Mythic, and B, a lot of healing trees tend to have more passives that directly relate to ult cost or ult gen. Then we select the Warden's Winter's Embrace tree for Frost Cloak, as well as Winter's Revenge, since this skill with a charged Ice Staff will allow for really strong AoE minor brittle up times, and will therefore act as our main source of the essential crit damage debuff. Finally, we select the Crow's Bone Tyrant tree so that we get access to Necrotic Potency, our primary defensive heal through Scythe, and the Disdain Harm passive, which will reduce our damage taken from damage over time effects by 15% with the Bone Tyrant ability active. So with all these buffs, our bar setup ends up looking something like Stonefist, Potency, Scythe, Igneous Shield, Winter's Revenge with a charged Ice Staff, and Temporal Guard. On our back bar, we'll slot Frost Cloak for Major Resolve, Wall for Crusher, Igneous Weapons for our Healer's Sorcery and Brutality buffs, and Inner Fire, as well as our Flex slot, which will be filled with something like Rapids, Chains, or Contingency, with Warhorn as our primary ultimate. The gear situation for tanks is a bit complex this patch.
Okay, so let's so he's going on to gear. Let's take a look at these skill lines real quick.
Much as possible. And I have assigned this task to the main tank. The main tank.
Okay, cool. Daedric says, yeah, the buff priority is working well for that. Okay, cool. We're doing it in the Sunspire group since banner on Arc is a damage loss there. Okay. Cool. Thanks, man. I didn't know it was finally working correctly. That's great to hear. Okay. Before I say anything, guys, and long time people that have been watching the channel know most of what I'm going to say. They've heard it all many times before. First off, reasonable minds can vary. There is plenty of room for disagreement. I have talked to, I don't know, a handful, more than 3, less than 10 people who all have different ideas about all the buffs and everything's are going to be. They are all intelligent people. They all know a lot about the game and what have you. I respect all of their opinions. Reasonable minds can vary. We can disagree. The other thing is disagreeing with somebody in their argument is not saying that they're dumb. It's not insulting them. I can disagree with somebody else. They can disagree with me. It doesn't mean no fanboys here. Please, please. If you're a fanboy, you probably, I mean, stay in rage. I don't know. It's good for engagement, but like you'll probably be happier for your own sake if you go somewhere else because, I criticize everything. I have criticism for my own builds. Okay. So I think that just about covers it, but yeah, reasonable minds can disagree. I'm not saying, yeah, hopefully that's clear. Okay. I'm sure it's not to somebody. So DK skill line, I would absolutely agree here. Running like you want to run igneous weapons anyways, and then stone fist if you're getting a little sweaty or if you have the skill, somebody needs to be running this. Main tank, off tank. He said, he mentioned like, hey, I decided I'm going to put a bunch of this stuff on the main tank. That's cool. That's what he decided to do. He said it in such a way that made me think that like, hey, you could also do this on somebody else. So, okay, yeah, I'm cool. I'm with that. The necro. I don't know about all this. The necrotic potency. The truth about most of this stuff is it's going to depend what trial you're in. Necrotic potency is great if there's a bunch of dead bodies. If there's not a bunch of ads, you have no way of generating them just by having that skill line on this bar. I mean, you only have a couple, like you could, right, if that was your base class or like a few other things, but generally speaking, you have no way of generating corpses, so you need ad heavy fights or necrotic potency is not going to do anything for you. Scythe. Guys, everybody thinks that Scythe is a good heal, and I'm not saying he does, just to be clear, but everybody seems to think that Scythe is a really good heal. It is not. It has never been. If there are a bunch of ads, like running the new trial, there's a bunch of ads, it makes it a lot better. It is still not that great of a heal, okay? You do need an ability from the skill line ticking, so you kind of have to run something here to make sure that you get that passive to your disdain harm. So it makes sense that he would run it, but yeah, it's not that great of a heal. It's only in melee. That means in certain fights, this is going to really be a problem, okay? If this is your main heal, you're going to need to swap this out or do something else. It's just not going to work everywhere. And again, I think the main thing with all of this stuff, if you want to be super optimized for various trials, you're going to be swapping out skill lines depending on what trial you're on. Next up here, we have our shield, igneous shield. This is not the best shield in the world. DKs are so used to using it, it's fine. There are much better shields. There are much better DK shields. This, to me, is a very weak main tank setup. This is a very expensive skill. Yes, it gives you back stamina, but if you don't need it, this just makes these two skills up here seem to me like you're making a fairly weak tank that has as your main tank, and I think most people will want a very survivable main tank, so I tend to disagree. The fifth skill here, is this Winter's Revenge? Is that what it's called? I'm trying to remember here.
Combines the DK's Earthen Heart Tree.
Here we go. So we'll look through here. Yeah. So Winter's Revenge. People don't know this. I think this is Zos's fault, by the way. Arctic Winds, if you choose the DPS morph of this skill, it has a higher chance of proccing Brittle than does Winter's Revenge. It also has at least a 20-second duration, if I'm not mistaken, as opposed to only a 12-second duration. And it's AoE centered on you, which means that you could hit a lot of people if you're holding aggro on them. Not a reason you couldn't run Winter's Revenge at some points, depending on the fight, depending on what's going on. But Arctic Wind, actually, the DPS morph, not the heal morph, actually procs Brittle more often. I know this because I've done all the Brittle builds, guys, so I've tested this stuff out. And it used to be that Arctic Wind didn't even say anything about it having a higher proc chance. I think they changed that. I could be wrong, but it used to not say that. But Winter's Revenge did, and even when Winter's Revenge said, hey, this has a higher chance of proccing Brittle, Arctic Wind actually had a higher chance. even than Winter's Revenge. And so these are all awkward, but there is a situation where I could see you wanting to run Arctic Wind. And again, I can't remember, guys. Someone tell me the hey Nani, the DPS morph for AoE brittle in a lot of fights because it's AoE brittle. There's a few situations I think where you might want AoE brittle and you might want AoE major maim and you might want AoE major cowardice. And each one of those skills, I always try to pretend like I'm European, and I can't do this. Started counting with the thumb. And those skills are going to be Arctic Wind here. It's going to be the Nightblade's Fear ability, Terror, whatever it is. Not the one you cast, but the one that's centered on you. And then the other one is going to be Shroud, which is from the Sorcerer skill line. Vibrant Shroud, I believe. And so those are three unique damage mitigation or whatever. I think those are the three main ones there are. There might be more. Someone tell me if there's another one. Hey, I had the Moana skin. Yeah, this is somebody else's video, Lyriel, but yeah, it is the Moana skin. This is from the new trial. The Horizon is calling you. Oh my gosh. The See It calls me. Yes. The skill choices were a big one that caught my eye because we were theory crafting the other night. Okay, cool. So this is part of what you want to talk about. Daedric says, I think the Igneous is there because you take that line for Stone Giant anyways, and if you have it, it's brain dead stam regen while blocking. Well, I think it also provides, I think that class skill line also provides you with the whatchamacallit. Yeah, isn't it Mountain's Blessing or something? One of these. I can't remember which one it is, but I think it provides you with a unique weapon damage buff as well. So you actually have to cast one of these, but I guess if you got Igneous, you can cast it, right? I think it's from the skill line. We need to hop in game and we'll double check, but I think it's from the skill line that provides a unique buff that DKs can provide, and you'll want it there. Yeah, so I think plenty of reasons. I think that this skill line, like, you want it. Like, I think somebody absolutely wants a skill line. I don't think there's anything wrong with choosing a skill line. And with a lot of these, it's not even that it's like there's a problem with the skill line. It's like, would I do it in this combination? I don't know. I don't know if I would. Like, I actually think that dropping this entire skill line would also be fine. Necrotic Potency on certain fights. Necrotic Potency is amazing for ulti gen, but you need a bunch of ads. So if you don't have the ads, then I don't know that you're running it. Disdain Harm is great. It's 15% reduced dot damage, but you can also get, if you choose the other Necro skill line, Living Death. I think it's Living Death. Forgive me, guys. For those who don't know, I'm terrible with names, but Living Death, where you have your Spirit Mender, which reduces your damage by 10%, and it's all damage, not just dot damage. So, depends on the fight, depends on what's going on. I also think that there are a lot of fights where you can have a better shield than this and a better heal than this, and therefore having the reduced dot damage taken, it goes down on the list. Because if you can have massive shields like an Arcanist or something, then it's not good. Guys, for those who don't know, I will go over the four skill lines that I think we want on some combination on our tanks. I will go over the 3 or 4, I can't remember what it is, on our healer after this. We'll jump in. That's what we'll do here. But we'll continue. Did we cover everything? Oh yeah, we want to look one more time at the Warden skill line. I think this makes sense. I was just recording a Warden video, and I mentioned that, like, there could be, so on healers, you really only need 2 lines for the most part. If you're on a Warden already, you could hang on to this, or if a tank grabs it, then you could go with something else. The only reason you grab this on a Warden healer is really for the expansive Frost Cloak, and then maybe if you wanted to DPS with your Frost Staff on your back bar with, like, the Piercing Cold passive, and Frost Wall, the DPS morph of Arctic Wind, and Winter's Revenge. So you get 2 skills, kind of 3 if you add your Wall of Elements in with the Ice Staff. That you have one for a DPS hybrid build. There's probably better ways to make it a hybrid DPS, but it's a thought. There's probably better ways, almost certainly better ways, but that's kind of vaguely what I was thinking. And then you again with a healer, just to make this really clear, with a healer, if you choose all 3 skill lines, one of those skill lines, you're really just grabbing it for the passives because you don't have the bar space to put on that many heals. Hey, Voodoo Noob says, off topic, why does everyone suggest Pierce over Undaunted Taunt? Is it bad? Voodoo, that is like its own discussion, man. So a lot of people, Pierce Armor provides major and minor breach, which you always want up, and you always want them up 100% of the time. If they're not up, then it's a really big deal. And so you want to make sure you have those buffs. And people, a lot of people are using the Undaunted. I still like Frost Clinch in a lot of situations and recommend that to new people. The Undaunted is basically invisible, so it's incredibly hard to see, and that's a problem for new tanks. They don't know what they taunted, and if now taunt pops up beside a target, but it's still hard for a new player to see which target they actually taunted if there's multiple that are beside each other. At least the Ice Staff gives you an idea of which one it hit. Hopefully, it's at least better, and I see that all the time with newer tanks. The synergy you can get from the Undaunted does increase damage, and in optimized groups that are super sweaty, yeah, they want that. In the average group, it doesn't matter that much. DPS is not. There's 1,000 other things that you could do that would increase damage more, and you want to make sure that you have that major and minor breach. And if you're in a new group, there's ways of doing that the sweaty groups do by having LE or something else, Ice Wall of Elements with LE multiple tanks running LE what have you, that can get you there. But it's much more likely in a new group that you'll have. There are groups that just will be missing, that I've been told and shown logs of groups missing major breach. And you're just like, what is going on, guys? That's like tanking 101. So it's better that you do Pierce Armor than that you miss that major breach or something. So there you go. The more could be said, but we'll leave it there for now. Where Moogle says you're a really big deal. Also, sup? What's up, Where Moogle? I don't know what that first part means, man, but thanks. Okay. So yeah, I think that Arctic Wind could be flexed in here, though. It actually works better than Winter's Revenge is the main thing, and just something to keep in mind. It's a shame to give up that massive heal also, but if you're going to do it, then that would be one way. If you're not going to use it anyway, then that would be one way. And you can also precast Arctic Wind. So in trash, you cast this beforehand and run in. I don't know. There's some benefits there. I'm not saying Winter's Revenge isn't useful, but yeah, that's the situation. First line I heard when I tuned in is it's not a really big deal, so I was hitting you with a playground response. Okay. What's up, Ace? You gonna make some new builds videos once the multi-classing is live on servers? Yeah, absolutely, Ace. Yeah, and on that note, just real quick, and then we're gonna get into this. Guys, every video that I was making is scrapped. Okay, all the build guides, whatever, they don't even matter anymore. I'm not spending time on them. I'm sorry. I talked to, I was gonna finalize a DK healer video for Weremoogle and a Brittledin build. It was single class. That's all for somebody else, and that's all gone. I have to start from scratch. And so, yeah, we'll be doing as many new videos as we can. And I've already done a couple, Ace. So I've already done a tank one that I don't think is going to change, and I've got a healer one coming out as well.
Zenkosh, Stonefist, and Igneous weapons will need to be run by the tank as opposed to a healer, because the healer can simply spec for ult gen more efficiently than a tank. They can
Again, we don't need that much ult gen on a Pearls healer right now. You can generate enough ult to drop ultimate on cooldown if you're really sweaty. I get tired of spamming and keeping my mag low, so you'll see. But if you want to see that happen, you can look, or very close to it, you can look at I heal 2 hard modes multiple times a week. Dreadcell Reef on Thursday and Friday, and then a VSS on Friday. The VSS, Nani, you're not still here, are you? The VSS, I'm not sweating that much right now because we still got a ways to go. The other one, the Nightblade one, a lot of times it's like, when do we want the ultimate? And sometimes you don't even want it every 45 seconds, which is the cooldown, I believe, or close to it. I think it's 45 for Pillager's Profit. So if you don't need it every 45 seconds, it doesn't matter if you have it before then, right? So some fights are like that. You trash talking my tanking? 1v1 me? Nah, dude, I wasn't trash talking your tanking. I mean, I will be honest, Daedric, you do kind of suck at holding 4 statues on Navintas. I didn't want to say anything, man, but like that one time, it wasn't good, man. It wasn't good. a ton off.
Use better ult gen sets like the Pearls Mythic,
Guys,
and B, a lot of healing.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I will get back to the video. This finger is this is my spammable finger, and I have to ice it sometimes after Thursday and Friday of 6 hours worth of doing that, of pillagers healing. So, or like change the button. And then I'm like using a different finger just because it's weird. Listen, all right. I'm just at some point I'm like, yeah, we're fine. We're fine.
Tend to have more passives that directly relate to ult cost or ult gen. Then we select the Warden's Winter's Embrace tree for Frost Cloak, as well as Winter's Revenge, since this skill with a charged Ice Staff will allow for really strong AoE minor brittle uptimes, and will therefore act as our main source of the essential crit damage debuff. Finally, we select the Crow's Bone Tyrant tree, so that we get access to Necrotic Potency, our primary defensive heal through Scythe, and the Disdain Harm passive, which will reduce our damage taken from damage over time effects by 15% with the Bone Tyrant ability active. So with all of these buffs, our bar setup ends up looking something like Stone Fist, Potency, Scythe, Igneous Shield, Winter's Revenge with a charged Ice Staff, and Temporal Guard. On our back bar, we'll slot Frost Cloak for major resolve, like Rapids, Chains.
Cool. We already went through all this.
Take a look at the off-tank setup first. The
Okay.
trees we select depend on the major buff that we're trying to maintain, and the spec is built to be a straight ult genner. We can keep near 100% uptime on major vulnerability by ourselves with just the Glacial Colossus, no Naz or Pillager needed. And we can also keep over 70% uptimes with major Berserk with the Storm Atra as an alternative. Generally, it's going to...
Okay, so he's going really quick here. Do you need to not have Naz in your group, though? I think he's just doing some extreme things to show a point. Like, get Naz in your group. I mean, that's somebody's gonna wear it, right? Like, what else are you gonna wear? Something to generate ultimate so that you can not need. Yeah, I don't think you need that much ultimate. I'm wondering how much of this he's like. This is just like a fun thing, but I don't know.
Be safer to have the second healer and off-tank run more traditional setups, especially since these roles will be able to just pump out barriers. But in basic fights, when your tank can just spam...
Yeah, Daedric has a really good point. No Naz is trolling. It does a lot more than just extend major vulnerability. Yeah. I mean, it extends brittle and every other debuff that you put on the boss, of which there are, I don't know, well over 10, I want to say. There's a lot, yeah. So I think he's just doing this like a proof of concept or something, or to get people interested and watch the video. I mean, I had multiple people mention this video to me, so hey, he's doing the thing, right? Is gamer finger a thing now, Robert? It actually has been, man. I've had to ice my hands before. To be totally honest with you, can I actually let me ask Mrs. Harrow if she'll hand me something. Real quick. I don't know if she's still listening. She has her headphones in. But I actually have I started looking at what climbers do to keep their hands in good shape, because I know that's like probably the most intense sport for your tendons and ligaments in your hands. And I've been like doing climber exercises now, guys. That's where I'm at.
Vamp Drain and the healer can really abuse pearls.
Also, if it works, I will share the info with all of you guys. I've also been taking collagen, which is the worst thing that I've ever taken. Guys, I when I was very young would take like protein and stuff like that, and back in the day, it tasted so bad. Like you were just forcing it down your throat. But I used to do that. Hold on one second. Love of my life. Would you hand me can you hand me my finger exercising things? I'm going to show you guys right now. But way back in the day, like protein now tastes delicious. It's all fine, right? Now it's no big deal. But back in the day, all that stuff used to taste like garbage. So I got a couple of these things, which are what like climbers use, right? Like one of them to like work out your fingers. You got to like expand, right? And then the collagen, which tastes like burnt horse hoof. I didn't know what burnt horse hoof tastes like until I tried some collagen supplements, which I have no idea if they work, by the way. There's some research that's like maybe it does. And then, a little squeezing just to get the blood flowing. And then I do a couple of other exercises, guys. That's where I'm at right now. Gamer elbow, gamer finger, got to take care of it. Oh my gosh, we got some comments here. Chicken says, I run Soul Harvest on my Necro for Colo region. Give us the gamer finger exercises. I literally will talk hand fitness channel pivot. Yes, we're all about the hand pivot, the hand fitness on the channel. Oh my gosh. All right. Jackie says, good idea. Just did PB on Pillager's Prophet Healer. My fingers were burning after every trial. Jackie knows what I'm talking about. You're just like, oh my god. I'm like adjusting my like recoveries down, and I'm like, you know what? I'll heavy attack if I need to, but like I just don't want my recoveries that high. I want them lower. Like I was like, do I unspec from some of the recovery passives? Like, what do I need to do here? Hit her with the love of my life. What a gent. Hey, it's true. It's true. I think Jadric may use those exercises for dubious enterprises. I put collagen in my coffee, can hardly taste it. Oh my God, Ace. I don't know, man. My dude. Yeah, I don't know. Crafty off topic says the new Oblivion remaster is pretty awesome. That's cool, Crafty. I think tomorrow we might be playing it. I don't know. Soon. But we'll give it a shot. All right, let's get back to the video here.
To keep high uptimes with these buffs could be very worthwhile. Our bar setup when prioritizing Major Vuln will require the Gravelord tree from the Necro, which we pair with the Daedric summoning tree from the Sork, in either Bone Tyrant from the Crow when we have adds to use potency with, or Siphoning from the Nightblade when potency isn't very valuable. Potency is just the best ult gen in the game when there are corpses to consume, and the Nightblade passive Catalyst is the next best. This passive will restore 30 ult whenever we drink a pot. So running 2 potion cooldown glyphs on our jewelry will allow us to pop a potion every 30 seconds and largely contribute to those 100% major vuln up times. Likewise, the Sork passive Power Stone will decrease the cost of our colo by 15%, and the tree in general just gives us some pretty decent tank defensives. We will then add Vamp Drain as well as Trample with major heroism, and then run ult pots for minor heroism. As demonstrated in this quote-unquote tank parse, I kept major vuln up at 99% for over 6 minutes. But this did practically require spamming Vamp Drain, which won't always be perfectly replicable. But this is where Pillager comes in though. I mean, any way you chalk it up, maintaining solo vuln is very doable. Because we have the Gravelord tree, we can also slot a Nerving Boneyard for more group support, providing AoE Major Breach and AoE Minor Vuln as well. When we run the Storm Atro ult though, we will drop the...
Guys, am I wrong in that isn't the Necro skill line that we're all going to be taking for DPS, doesn't it have the Colossus in it? Isn't that like hardly a DPS loss for them? Is that not going to be a thing? I don't know. And then you could have your healer Naz, and its DPS line has Colossus. Yeah, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't know about all this. I think he's very clearly just showing us like a proof of concept. He said like several different things that he said, just like minor things like, you know, that he did to just kind of show it's possible, I think is kind of indicating that to me, but I don't know. I don't go, I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock that this is what's going to go live necessarily, or what you're going to see a lot of group comps. I don't know that it makes a lot of sense to me. Zoss is trash says that's their name. Now Zoss stupidly waited until the 4th week of PTS to make big changes. Now we won't have enough time to give them feedback and have them implement those feedbacks. Zoss is trash. Zoss is trash, man. You're thinking about this all wrong, man. You're thinking about it all wrong. Zoss didn't plan beforehand. You're joining late, man, I think. Zoss didn't plan beforehand. So then this is just the logical consequences of their actions. So, but yeah, I mean, you're not entirely wrong there. I'm just like, this is what's, they have too much to change. They don't have time. So what are they going to do? So they're moving forward. That's just the way it is. Daedric says, I used to deal with that before I retired when doing 140 plus CPM rating for like 4 to 6 hours in a row. Made me scared of carpal tunnel, and now space rating. And now I space rating out. Okay. Yeah, so you're not doing 4 to 6 hours back to back spamming. Yeah. There you go. It's kind of crazy because I know Daedric has he's a bit younger than I am, and he's having this problem. So, or did. Yeah, it can be too much. They did a great job of keeping the things that made it great and making it look amazing at the same time. Yeah. With Oblivion. Ace is talking about Oblivion. Yeah. Cool. And then Crafty says, "Yeah, they did an awesome job." You guys want to talk about Oblivion? We'll get the stream up tomorrow if I can. If I can. DPS line has Colossus confirmed. Okay. Only reason for a DD to not Colossus if you're trying to stack as many par spots as possible. Yeah, and I just don't think it's that big of a deal for one person or even two to run a colo. So it's kind of weird because it's like all of the stuff he's talking about is like not necessary. Um, it's interesting, but a lot of it doesn't really seem necessary. Like I don't think you need to be, yeah, and it's really going to be fight dependent. Like he said, he acknowledges all this stuff. I don't think he's lying about anything. You know, I'm not saying that. It's just I'm not sure we're on the same page here.
Gravelord tree and run siphoning with those reduced potion cooldown glyphs no matter what, in addition to the Daedric summoning tree for that.
Zos is trash. If you think Doge is any better than Zos, I need to get what you're smoking, man, because Doge is so much worse than Zos. Yeah, dude. So, yeah, what are you talking about? I assume you probably don't know what Doge is actually doing if you say that. Because what Doge is actually doing is degrees more stupid even than Zos. So if you think Zos is trash, you got to think Doge is like, you know, I don't know, galactic space trash or something, man.
Power Stone passive, but then we will opt for either the Bone Tyrant tree if there are a lot of ads for us to use potency on, or you can run the Templar's Dawn Wrath tree for the Restoring Spirit passive, which decreases the cost of our ult by
Wait, hold on. What do we got? What do we got here? Let me go back.
Slot unnerving.
We finally got to
be perfectly replicable. But this is where Pillager comes in, though. I mean, any way you chalk it up, maintaining solo Vuln is very doable. Because we have the Gravelord tree, we can
Okay, what do we got here?
also slot Unnerving Boneyard for more group support, providing AoE Major Breach and AoE Minor Vuln as well. When we run the Storm Atro ult, though, we will drop the Gravelord tree and run Siphoning with those reduced potion cooldown glyphs no matter what, in addition to the Daedric summoning tree for that Power Stone passive, but then we will opt for either the Bone Tyrant tree if there are a lot of ads for us to use potency on, or you can run the Templar's Dawn Wrath tree for the Restoring Spirit.
Just as an FYI, the Necros have a skill line that I think it's living death. It's living death, I'm pretty sure, that will give you almost the same amount of ultimate as a Nightblade will, and it did before. It actually gave you more before the changes to the Nightblade, okay? It gives you back 30 ultimate every 48 seconds as opposed to 45. You can't reduce it like you can a Nightblade with potion cooldowns, but it does give you that 30 ultimate every 48 seconds. So a lot of people didn't realize that and have long underestimated the value of having a Necro healer.
Spirit passive, which decreases the cost of our ult by another 5%. Keeping strong.
Hey, Zos is trash. We have one rule here, man. We don't talk about politics. We can talk about specific issues, but we don't talk about politics, man. So who you voted for is not really. You want to talk about an issue, man, or something like that? You can bring it up, but just random like nonsense about politics is not. That's not okay. We don't do that here. When I listened to it earlier, it seemed like some of his stuff is really specific to the way his group plays. And I say that too. We might make an exception to that at certain times, but typically we don't do that at all. And same in the Discord. Yeah, specific to the way his group plays. I also wonder too if it's not specific to being on console, because he doesn't have add-ons to know where everybody's ult set. And so I know that like getting ultimates in a like normal rotation and stuff like that can be a little bit difficult. Ace says, as of right now, as a tank, what should I be doing right now to prepare for multi-classing? Ace, I actually did a video about this recently, man. But main thing is you're going to need a bunch of skill points. And I offer a couple of other things. There's not a whole lot you can do, but getting skill points is one of them. You're going to need, like, what was it? 16 to 40 or something more skill points on each character, potentially. Isn't this game an extreme score pusher so his team might try to run a comp like he's explaining? Stand with the plan. I'm talking about from like an optimized perspective, and so is like Daedric with his comments as well. Even like in extreme score pushing, you end up doing things that make sense for the group, because if you can't get through without someone dying or something, that ruins the run. or if you can't get like something to be, there's still, even in score pushing groups, there is allowance for skill and ease of use. And if you're interested in hearing more about that, several weeks ago, I did a live stream where I talked to Daedric about that sort of thing. And, um, the higher you go, the less you're going to have that stuff. So maybe he's with a group that is whatever. But even with that, even in that context, like a lot of, like, you're not going to not run Nazare in a score pushing group. Like, I don't think you're going to do that. So I don't think that is the difference here. I am addressing all of these things from that very optimized point of view. So yeah, cool. A says, as of right now, as a tank, what should I be doing to prepare for multi-classing? Hey Buzzard, what's going on? Yeah, okay, cool. I have 27 right now, 27 free skill points. That will probably be enough, Ace, but check out that video, man. It's short, it's not that long. I also, like, the other thing is, like, making sure, well, I don't want to rehash the video, but I have like 3 or 4 pieces of advice there. Skill points is the main thing, though. Yeah.
Uptimes with Major Berserk is far more difficult than Vuln, so in heavy AoE fights where a tank with the Bone Tyrant tree and therefore potency can spam ult gen, Berserk will probably be better suited for the tank as opposed to the healer. But in situations where the tank can't do this, but the healer can run pearls, Berserk will probably be better on the healer. It'll just depend. And as you can see, the subclassing meta setups are just simply going to heavily depend on the content. These are just good starting points. Good tanking in Season of the Worm Cult is going to require knowing what is and isn't worth running from which tree, and really when it's going to be worth running one tree over another. In the new trial Ossian Cage, for example, we are finding it necessary to slot Resonating Glyphic, which means either a healer or a tank will have to give something up.
Yeah, I'll also say, stand with a plan. You raised a really good point, man, about like score pushing and stuff like that. Pretty much all of my disagreements with someone like Hyper, and again, hopefully everybody caught before. It's okay to disagree with everybody. All right, if you're a fanboy, you're not going to like what I have to say. Of anybody. Okay, and I don't want fanboys here of myself either. Okay, just to make that clear, because I know that somebody's going to try to start some drama or something. But most of my disagreements with Hyper aren't because I think that he's wrong about something, like right and wrong, like that's the wrong answer to the question. My biggest issue is, like, I don't often think that some of the things suggested are the best for the average player, and I try to make my content for the average player. Not this. I don't think score pushers, generally speaking, and this isn't entirely true, but generally speaking, don't need my advice. They have other people they can talk to that know as much, if not more, than I do, and stuff like that. And so they don't need advice. So I don't ever make videos for them. I don't know. Other people do. And they'll also suggest that everybody should do what the score pushers do. And I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's a very bad idea. In fact, I think that it's like trying to get 1% more of DPS at the risk of, like, dying hundreds of more times trying to do that. And I think that's a bad idea. So I don't do that. If people want that kind of advice, you can still get it from our Discord server. There are people there that will give you advice. And if you're new to the game, you don't even want to follow my advice. If you're, well, I don't know. I try to make it as best I can. But yeah, some of the advice, if you're new to MMOs, you're new to gaming, a lot of my videos will still be at a too high of a level, right? Because you're like someone who just, like, needs to know how to press buttons and stuff like that, right? You want like a very casual guide, a very, like, maybe you don't even need a guide, you just need to play the game, So anyways, I think there's all, and I think that he knows, I don't know. I'm not sure what these other creators think, but I think typically they know that, the average player is going to be watching. And it's the same thing we see in various pugs, which has happened a lot, is that you'll see pugs doing hard mode strats in non-hard mode trials. And sometimes that's fine, but sometimes that's like 3 or 4 times as difficult. And you're like, guys, we could just do a much easier strategy here and not have a problem. Why are we trying to treat this like we've got everybody parsing 100K and we can do burn strats? Like, that's why we're wiping. So, yeah.
In order to find room for that tree. And I mean, maybe you have to find room for something like Rune of the Colorless Pool, Necro-Res, Magma, Hardened Armor, or Ritual. Maybe you even just need to go tankier to survive some fights. The skill lines that you choose will greatly depend on group needs and the content that you're dealing with. Finally, a quick chat about sets. This portion is one that I am pretty unsure of, to be honest. Typically, tank set options would include Sax, Lucent Echoes, Pearlescent Ward, Turning Tide, Powerful Assault, Zoran, and sometimes War Machine. But in Update 46, we don't need any extra pen or crit damage, so that rules out Lucent Echoes. We shouldn't need Turning Tide if Vuln can be maintained by a support. PA is typically best run on a healer since they're in group more often anyway, and honestly, I'm not sure where I stand on War Machine on a tank. In a progression setting, positioning the tank properly to
Let's go back through that.
But in Update 46, we don't need any extra pen or crit damage, so that rules out Lucent Echoes. We should...
So, like, there's more than one way to do that, just to make sure that's really clear. Dropping Lucent, may or may not be a thing that we do. And also, those changes, I think that we could see some adjustment to them, in which case none of this would be true anymore.
Didn't need Turning Tide if Vuln can be maintained by a support. PA is typically...
We didn't need Turning Tide to begin with. Yeah, in most groups. And then PA?
Best run on a healer since they're in group more often anyway.
Okay. If we can drop a set, maybe we move PA to a healer. I could get behind that pretty easily, actually.
Anyway, and honestly, I'm not sure where I stand on War Machine on a tank. In a progression setting, positioning the tank properly to A, get Slayer to the right people, and B, to do it every time they're dropping a cheap Colo or Atro. I mean, it'll be happening so...
I would like War Machine on, or the other version on a healer more, like usually, people do some weird stuff and I don't understand. Again, I could just be not knowing. I might not have the requisite knowledge here. But when you're talking about dropping Rojo to put on War Machine and, or again, the mag version, I think War Machine is maybe the stand version. You drop 2 sets from one healer. What you do is you move 1 set from the other healer onto that healer, and then they can both run War Machine or, the equivalent. And then you have 2 stacks and they're with a healer, and a DPS doesn't have to give up a set. To me, that makes a lot of sense. It is fight specific, but to me, that just makes a lot of sense, and I don't know why people do other things. I'm sure there's a good reason.
Often it just feels like it would be way more prog than it's worth. So in my head, that just leaves Sax, Pearl, and maybe Zoran, giving us a whole free 5-piece. I mean, you could double Sax, maybe PA, or you could potentially take a set like MK or Zen off of the DDs. You might even be able to choose a utility set like Drake's or Arcasis. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure what's going to be the best, and frankly, I'm curious to see what minds greater than mine will develop to fill these gaps. Lots of options, no doubt, and I plan on making a video that goes over what a new raid comp for Update 46 might look like as a whole once the PTS cycle nears its end.
Robert, I don't think it is going to be as complicated as it seems, man. I really don't. Don't stress it too much, man. Master Architect, thank you, Crafty.
Now, the 4-man build is where it gets really fun. I've pushed a lot of 4-man content recently, trying to really min-max and limit test what's possible in these environments, and that's what I've built this tank setup around. In order to, for example, completely skip the hunt phase mechanic on Baylorg, the final boss in March of Sacrifices, you basically have to burn 6 mil boss HP in about 8 seconds between only 4 players. This means that the tank has to do some damage and provide as many buffs as possible, and when you kill bosses this fast, the amount of actual tankiness required is very small. So that is what this build is centered on, and just to understand that for newer content, you'd likely replace the least important buffs with more real tankiness whenever necessary. When making a tank build, we always start at the pen and crit cap. For the pen equation, we just need to find...
Rojo is interrupted Slayer uptime. Slayer front loads the uptime, which is super helpful for pushing groups DPS to push mechs faster. Add in extra ulti-gen and Slayer sets are goated. Yeah. I'm... Oh, maybe that was in response to something else. Daedric, are you not thinking that like maybe that's what happens to healers as like one of the options if we can ult gen even more and everybody can have a little bit more ult gen? I don't know. It's a possibility. Ace says, have the devs said anything about porting ESO to the U5 engine? I am hearing rumors, but I don't know if the devs have actually said anything yet or not. Ace, I think they had talked about like over a year ago, maybe closer to 2 years ago. I think that it was not publicly ever said anything about it, but I think they considered remaking ESO or making like an ESO 2 or something like that. And I think that they They asked, they were polling people privately, and my response to that, although no one asked me, is like, if you can't make the current game work, why are we going to remake another game that you also can't make work? Like, show me you can make this game work, and then I'll consider buying your next game. And they can consistently show us that they can't make the game work. So I'm not really interested in their next game, right? Because they can't make this one work. Arm day, very rare workout for you. Nice, nice zombie. Uh, yeah, and yeah, cool, cool. I think we caught up
And
on all
room for
those.
major and minor breach. With this bar setup, we will end up combining the Gravelord tree to get access to Boneyard, and Colo, the Bone Tyrant tree to get access to Potency, and the Winter's Embrace tree for Frost Cloak and Winter's Revenge. Unfortunately, minor breach will likely fall to a DD, but you can put Soul Burst with minor breach on a tank if you want to. You need 2 Soul Bursts though, one with courage and one with minor breach, unless a DD simply has a more natural way to source it. For crit damage, Major Force is typically unreliable in 4-man, even with sacks, so we have the DD spec into the Khajiit race as well.
Yeah, so I just want to say, like, overall in optimizing, so I don't know why minor breach would need to go to somebody else. You can use, does he not know about Elisus with wall, or is he running out of bar space with it? I'm not sure. But minor breach, I don't know why. Also, you could just use pierce armor. I don't know why you wouldn't just do that, then you get both if you're really worried about it. But I don't know why you would outsource minor breach to a DPS. Did I hear that wrong? I think that's what he said. And yeah, I don't know. So that's kind of odd. Um, Optimizing for 4-mans. When you're talking about really optimizing for 4-mans, so guys, I did a stream the other day where I ran through with Miles, and we did 3 DPS, 1 tank, and we like one-shotted a trifecta. We almost like one-shotted another one, and like we'd never been in there before, and one of the players was new. Not you know, 4 super. I mean, a couple of us are pretty sweaty, but like, I think what you will see is basically 4 DPS, and one of the DPS will be spec'd into a couple of like a skill line that'll give them a ton of armor, probably allow them to be at resistance cap while in medium armor, and you'll just do a ton of damage. Yes, you'll want to check and make sure you have some of these buffs, but like trying to get one setup for this, it's um, it's kind of like making like a super sweaty roster for your kid's t-ball team. You know, it's like you just don't need it anymore. And I know for a lot of people that's not the reality they live in. I'm not trying to like. It's just that dungeons are getting so easier, and it's so much easier, and they've already been pretty easy. And if you increase damage even more, it's just like just beam. And if you can't do that, then that's understandable, right? Because we were all there at one point. But then learning how to play your character and how to use your character is what you need to learn how to do, not optimize more. Getting 10% of almost zero because your damage is really bad is not a very big number. Learning how to get your damage up is more important. So yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at on that. I don't really. Yeah, if you polish a pig, it's still a pig. Yeah, there you go. Dedrick says, I thought the question was why Slayer sets over Rojo. Maybe I misunderstood. Oh, no, Dedrick. I actually was like wondering why not just use. Yeah, no, that wasn't the question, Dedrick. You misunderstood. Yeah. I mean, they seem really good. He was suggesting like having the Slayer sets on a DPS, and I was saying like I don't really understand why a lot of people run the Slayer sets on a DPS when you can just split the Pillager's SPC healer sets onto 2 healers and then have both of them. And usually the healers are in separate stacks anyways, and so then they're already in stacks for the Slayer. To me, oftentimes that makes sense and seems to be more of the like, why don't we just use that as a go-to a lot of times? I think that the presuppositions that made that not a good idea don't exist anymore, but I also could be wrong, man. Someone like you would know better than I would. And then Robert Miller says, I think you heard that right. Thought I heard it as well. Oh, maybe I said the wrong thing, guys, then. Yeah. And 4-man optimization is just more damage. Yeah, just more damage. Hey, Silver, hello. I'll run whatever Knight tells me to. Oh, no. No, question everything. Question me. I could be wrong.
slot fighting finesse when they can't Acuity plus Shadow Mundus combo bosses. In doing so, all we need to provide is minor brittle, and again, we do so by slotting Winter's Revenge on our bar with the charged Ice Staff.
Yeah, again, don't slot Winter's Revenge, especially if you're in a dungeon. Use Polar Winds or Arctic Blast. What is it called? Is it Arctic? I think it's Arctic Blast. It's going to do better for overall. Yeah.
For our sets, Olo and PA plus either Spalder or Crypt Cannon Arch is our highest group DPS pairing. We can activate Olo with either Winter's Revenge or Boneyard depending on what bar we have access to the set, and we keep PA up with Echoing Vigor. Finally, we run the Elemental Scribed Knife for better status effect procs from the group and for off balance, the most important debuff for burst in the game. Of course, we then slot Inner Fire, and our flex is Mystic Orb, which is
so again, like you can do this. This seems cool. This seems fun. You got a real tank, whatever. I question, he's doing a lot of stuff for buffs. If I can provide a 10% buff to 3 DPS, and let's say those DPS are producing, I don't know, 60k damage. So that is another 18k damage. If I can do more than 18k damage with, I don't know. You do want these buffs, but like having a Colossus, you're gonna have it. Maybe you run Warhorn, sure. I just think you're gonna spec more into damage. Oh, he is okay. He is with Mystic Orb. Okay, so maybe I just misunderstood him. Let me let him cook.
really strong for the combustion synergy and as a source of sustain for the damage dealers, but we will replace this with chains when necessary. As with any build, this is just what I'm envisioning as meta from the 4-man standpoint, but skills like Frozen Gate, for example, are necessary for Black Rose Prison. And I mean, there are a lot of other solid utility skills for a lot of different situations that will change this build up here and there. And finally, as promised, the stupid...
Okay, cool. All right, he already called it Stoopy. Hey, stupid. Oh, hey, what's up, Telly? What's going on? All hail Haro. Oh my gosh. We will wear pink slippers if told to. Oh my gosh, please no, please no. Zombie Jesus says ESO dungeons are face rolls. I tanked every vet dungeon with randoms without knowing the mechanics before the run. Yeah, other than a couple of one shots, it was cake. Yeah. Kale cake sounds delicious, Lyriel would say. She loves kale. Yeah, I think that with all of these changes, like the biggest thing to me is that like dungeons, and again, I don't know, like maybe I'm out of touch with what the average player is like, but the average player, if they can't run through these vet dungeons, it's probably because they just don't know how to play their character. And they don't know a lot about the game, and the game should tell them that and help them along, because if you do, like, they're pretty easy. And the hard modes for everybody at the top end, there's really nothing for us. It scares me, guys, if I'm being totally honest, that with all of these changes, that the amount of content that is still difficult enough that it's a challenge and fun for me to do is going to get smaller, and I really don't want that, and it's kind of a bummer. And I really think that they need to go through and we rework all of this old content if they want. I think this already happens. A lot of players come in, when I was running with Lenny the other day, his friend was brand new, and he was just like, kind of felt like all the dungeons were a joke because he was running through all of them, and you're not doing mechanics. I love doing mechanics, but if you could just burn, why would you not burn? So there's no mechanics. You're just like sitting there. Oh, let's not press the keyboard so we can see mechanics. That's not fun either. And I just feel like it's making it pretty rough for anybody who's like really trying. Is there anybody who would consider themselves like, I don't know, like a less serious player or a less skilled player? Maybe you're new to digital gaming. Maybe you just haven't played that much. Maybe you're just very casual. Like, what is your experience with dungeons and everything? Like, you guys tell me, because I want to know this other perspective, because like maybe I'm wrong, but it does seem like a lot of this stuff is just too too easy. Telly, thank you I appreciate that you love the conversation videos, and I appreciate you telling me that. The great news is, Telly, is that I've gotten so much good feedback from you guys by the watch time and the number of views. So I will keep trying to do more of them. I'll still be streaming, gameplay. Don't get me wrong, but it's good because I'll keep trying to work more of these in. And then let me just make sure I didn't miss any chats. I know we got some new stuff coming in. Daedric says, it's a space issue right now. So yeah, it's much easier to run it on both healers after the change. Cool. So we're on the same page there. Cool. I like to double check with some of my friends who are sweatier and more knowledgeable than I am. Or at least as knowledgeable, but maybe knowledgeable about different things. Oftentimes more knowledgeable, though. Don't get me wrong. ZOS doesn't use feedback on PTS. It's just lip service. They use us as a beta testers in year 10. ZOS is trash. I completely agree with you. 100%, man. I think that's exactly what happens. I think it's pretty clear that that's what happens also. And it is frustrating. So yeah, I feel you. Robert Miller says, it's a shame that vets and hard modes don't teach you how to tank or heal trials. Absolutely. Yep. And yeah, it is. It is quite the shame. Zombie Jesus says it's funny when people min max and bring 8 different setups to get an additional 10% damage with each scenario. Yeah, yeah. Man, some of us min max because that's just like its own game for us, man. But yeah, it does. We do get quite silly. I am one of those people, and I do know that it gets. I'm not always one of those people, but a lot of times I am, and I do acknowledge that it gets quite silly. Robert Miller says, I've been around a while, but I'm ultra casual. They're still cake. Okay. So I really do think that, like, I think that there's a tier of people that they're still going to be difficult for. And part of the problem is that, ZOS promotes people like Hack the Minotaur, who many of his builds are really not good. And if you try to take that build into a trial, you'll get kicked out. A veteran trial, you'll get kicked out because your build is so bad, people will think you're trolling. And he'll I don't know if he plays the game, but all of his videos that I've seen historically have been running through Fungal Grotto or like a Delve. And ZOS promotes that person because he has an audience. And so I kind of wonder if there's not this tier of player who either doesn't care and doesn't ever want to get any better, which is fine. Play the game the way you want. Have fun on whatever you want. But they're never really going to try to get into dungeons or anything else anyway. So it doesn't matter how easy you make it. And maybe also like the kind of player that just wants the meme build or whatever. And unless ZOS makes those builds viable, which, I don't think that there's any chance they really do or whatever. Yeah, they're just not going to engage with any harder content because they don't want that. They don't care about it. And then there's also a lot of people that just want to do housing and other stuff. But again, I don't think they're engaging with the harder content. That's not the way they play the game. And so I don't understand why it just seems like these changes without refreshing all of the content is, and they've done that before. They've added a bunch of max health and stuff to when they did some big changes a while back. It seems like it could be kind of a mistake to me. I'm old. Does that count? I mean, if you feel like it does, Crafty, it absolutely does. Yeah, Robert says, but that's why I still haven't done trials. No prep to get into that harder content. I mean, Robert, if you've done harder dungeons, the trials aren't much different. Although, if you've done, I say that was true a year ago. I don't even know if that's true anymore. But I think hopefully it does. Don't 3 or 4 DPS it. Make sure you got a healer and maybe gimp your DPS, and then you can be prepared for it. But also, like, some of the trials are easier than some of the dungeons. Again, that was true a year ago. I don't know if that's true anymore. Hey, James, what's going on? First time catching you live. Thanks for the videos. Been using a few of your builds. James, that's great to hear, man. I'm glad you caught me live as well. It's good to have you. Zombie says, I'm very casual, played theme builds that I make. Okay, cool. All right, Zombie. And then James says, my wife is a very casual player running 1-bar Sork heavy attack, and we usually get her through vet dungeons and with very little effort. Wow. Okay, so my instinct is correct, and I wasn't sure about that maybe like this is going to be a problem, because if heavy attack builds even are getting 20-30k DPS boost, yeah, what does that even look like? ZOS is trash, then I take everything back. New friend acquired. Hey, ZOS is trash, man. That's the thing, dude. We can disagree on a lot of stuff, right? Like, again, we're not going to talk politics, but me and you clearly have different views on that. If we can try to find things that we do agree on, try to find some common ground, like I think that we can land in a good spot. I think most of us, again, I'll just talk about this briefly. I know this is not ESO related, but we sometimes go here. Um, when I joined the military and I was 17, I was patriotic, right? And I thought, I'm doing a service for my country, giving back some of the freedom and everything else. You know, from that, I get like continual health care. And if we are the greatest country on earth, or even if we're just a good country on earth, right? Shouldn't we provide basic health care for everybody? I grew up in a trailer park and you didn't go to the doctor unless you were fucking dying. Like that was like that's when you went to the doctor. I can remember many times my father, maybe not many times, several times, sincerely telling us, "Hey, me and my brother, to stop fighting because if someone broke an arm, he wasn't going to take us to the fucking doctor, and because like that's a bill he would have, right? It was a hollow threat. But like I don't want to take you to a doctor if you break your arm, okay? And that's the kind of thing like not like, what you're doing is bad or whatever. It's like literally the bills would be too much. This is why it's so serious that you don't injure yourselves. Okay. Like that's kind of a funny anecdote, but still, like, I think we can all agree that basic healthcare, if we have people that have so much money, then hopefully like basic human healthcare is something, is a human right in a lot of ways. And, if someone is starving in a foreign land or in our own country, providing basic meal assistance, it's not the kid's fault, right? It's not the kids' fault. They haven't had a chance to do anything. So, if we can agree on some things like that, then I think we can also be friends, man. And if agreeing on Zoss doing some questionable things that we're not really sure about is one of them, then, yeah, let's we can go there. All right. What else we got here? Daedric says, just give us an instance editor and let the community make some crazy dungeons and trials. Daedric, man. Daedric knows what he's talking about. That's all we need, Zoss. Zoss loves having other people create their products for them. That's a great idea. Can we sell that? Can we just tell Zoss that? Like, how do we everybody, hey guys, let's do this. Everybody go into the forums, and your number one feedback for Zoss is like, give us an instance editor so we can make dungeons and trials. Daedric says, I promise 3 billion health, boss, so you have to do the mechs 30 times to clear. Hey, man, I'd do it. Zoss's trash says 90% of the player base is just PvE questions with low skill. Okay. Hey, Jose, what's going on? My wish is one day they will remove barb traps so DPS can use different stuff without guilt. Well, Jose, if you're using the Velothi Ermage amulet, right? Velothi, yeah. You don't need trap, man. You can drop it now. And also they nerfed the damage, so it's not as big of a deal anymore. So and you could also put it on scribing skills, man. And you'd only be losing a little bit of damage if you did that. I know I'm not trying to solve all your problems here, man, but just, yeah, there are some decent options there, man. Questers. Okay. Yeah. That makes a little bit more sense. Zombie G says, problem is you can take 3 Oaken Soul heavy attack builds with 1 tank and rush through everything. Yeah, it's pretty easy right now. I miss kicking ass with my Bowcrow. Okay. Zombie G says I used to heal vet dungeons through the looking for group with a heavy attack build with a healing tether only and no one dying. Okay. Gosh, Neverwinter vibes. Oh my goodness. Gratian Club dungeon, let's go. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, we're on the same page. That's crazy. He's got his meme build. I love that he's oh no. I love that he's fulfilling on his promise. Is it over here? Let's see what he's got.
And finally, as promised, the stupid OP tankiest of tanky builds that I've ever come up with so far.
This build is not OP.
Pairs no real buffs in mind. I just have something very generic like Sax Pearl Nazequip, but the goal was just to get as beefy as possible. Sure. And we do this by stacking shields, combining the Soldier of Apocrypha, Dragonic Power, and Daedric summoning trees to unlock the best shields and mitigation in the game. On the front bar, we stack Hardened Ward for a 20k.
His front bar doesn't even have a taunt. Also, the problem with shield builds, if you get to a fight where the shields aren't big enough, which I think hard mode Teleria probably would be for this, you're still gonna die. So I don't so even but it's a meme build, guys. It's a meme build. It's a great meme build.
Shield, hardened armor for a 14k shield, contingency for an
Why does he even have a heal on his bar? He has a heal on that front bar. If you're stacking that much shields, why do you even have a heal? Drop that heal, man. Throw on it. So far I see 4 shields, and they last for most of them for 6 seconds. Maybe I guess warding lasts for 8. To me, if you got 4 shields, most of them last for 6 seconds. That means you can slot 2 more shields, my friend. You know, he's got vigor on. Why does he got vigor on, man? Just slot more shields. It's for minor resolve. But well, he got no. Why does he have vigor on? Because he already gets from the Sork skill line. He already gets minor resolve from that. He doesn't need vigor at all. Why does he have these 2 heals on his bar? All right, I'm very seriously. I don't know about this build, guys.
11k shield and impervious rune ward for a 20.
Yeah, well, he's got the taunt on his back bar. I just mean there's no taunt on his front bar, Robert. And he's got 2 heals that he doesn't need.
7k shield. We also slot temporal guard on the front bar for the Psijic passive consecrated barrier, which is another 5k, as well as minor protection on the front bar, which decreases our damage taken by.
He doesn't need minor protection. He does he not tank? Does he not tank? I feel like maybe he doesn't tank very much. Right? Because he already gets minor protection from Bound Aegis on his back bar anyways. That's what it provides. It provides minor protection and minor resolve. So he doesn't need this. But it gives a shield, which I think is from the passives, from the skill line here. So I assume that's why for a shield, but you don't need to mention this because you're already getting it from several other places on your back bar.
5%. Stacking all of these shields together gives us a total of 78k in shielding when fully buffed.
He's just changing screen. So this is something that we do as creators. You got to make sure the early part of your video is really entertaining and appropriate, but he keeps popping up things that are unrelated to what he's talking about. It's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, but it's totally what you want to do because you can just reuse the same B-roll over and over. But like this isn't his shield build. This is his normal build. He's just changing the screen so you don't get uninterested.
Now when we use our back bar ult, Gibbering Shelter, we stack up to 166.
So it does it require you to use your ultimate to get the number too? Okay, all right.
In
little bit
shielding, but
okay.
I am not done. We also slot Resolving Vigor on the back bar for some strong passive healing, Green Dragon's Blood on the front bar as a burst heal, and Runic Sunder as our taunt to build Crux, which will cause Impervious Rune Ward to heal. We gain 13% damage reduction through contingency.
Putting your taunt on your back bar is really, well, it's a meme build. It's a meme build.
In the Gladiator's Tenacity signature script and 5% in the Minor Protection script, so that we have this on both bars no matter what. And we also get major protection through Revealing Flare.
Your Impervious Rune Ward heals you for a ton if you generate Crux, so it'd be better to run something that passively generated Crux on your back bar instead of the heal, and then just pop the shield more often, or use your guys, I'm critiquing a meme build just for the lulls. Okay, this is not serious. But you could instead run your Runic Sunder on your front bar, and then you could cast it more often. Although you have 4 shields that you need to keep up, so that's 4 out of like 6 GCDs you're casting those. Although if you get hit, you got to recast all 4 of them.
On the front bar and 40%.
I don't think you need any heals
with Bound Aegis whenever activated.
Oh, we're
Finally,
blocking?
We have balance on the back bar to help sustain this extremely mag heavy setup. With this build, I walked into Asylum to test out the damage mid, and I mean, you can just take everything without ever needing to hit a heal. It's seriously insane. I even took a breath unblocked, and we barely lost any HP. It's unreal. I'm telling you, with this build, it is just impossible to die. We have every important defensive buff in the game, multiple outlets for healing, and over 106.
So again, it's a meme build, okay? It's impossible to die. It is impossible to die on a normal tank build in this situation if you know what you're doing. And it's the same with this build. You have to press the buttons in the right order for you not to die. It's not like you don't need to press buttons. And if you just want to learn how to press buttons, you can just learn how to tank, and then you won't be able to be killed by St. Olms. Same thing with hard mode Teleri. You can learn how to tank that with no assistance from your group if you want. So, you know, it's all good. Nani says one bar Nightblade for the win. There you go. Here's my unkillable build, Magma Shell. There you go. Yeah, just Magma Shell. I think I lost. I missed a couple of chats here. Let me see. Ever notice I never see an ESO commercial? I don't remember ever seeing one. They use content creators to push their game for way cheaper and then treat people like Nephis like garbage. Um, yeah, they, creators, Zoss is trash. Creators are, so like, 81 Puppies here, I think is on their, on their stream team or something, right? Creators, YouTubers, are notoriously cheap. And so, yeah, um, apparently on average, we're very easy to buy out, I guess, because any money, we think it's great. And I think that a lot of creators don't realize that they need us and we don't need them. I make content for you guys. I work for you guys. I do not work for Zoss. I do not work for any other company. And that's also why I don't care if they don't like me. It doesn't matter. They need me. I don't need them. And I need you guys. And that's why I work so hard to try to like make good, high quality content for you guys, for the community. Because I need you guys. I don't need them. And so that's just, a lot of creators don't realize the way things should work. And I mean, yeah. Anyways, I won't go into it. We've talked about some stuff. I don't need to bring it back up. I'm not trying to bash anybody. There's one day I might want to do a live stream and kind of explain some of the back end of this stuff to you guys, because I think most people have no idea how it works. And I also think a lot of people, whenever you see a creator pushing like, some random energy drink something, or some game that you've never heard of, or that's like a MOBO game, or all that kind of stuff. There's a link with all of that stuff, and there's a reason why that happens, and it's not good for you, the consumer. And I work, again, I know, and I keep in mind that I work for the consumer. Jackie says there will be a surplus of crit damage with subclassing. You can probably drop trap easily. Jackie, that's a great point. But again, you're probably already running Velothi, so you don't actually need it if you're running Velothi. You can also run something like Zogfin's Warband, which I recommend in my like 2 DPS sets that that is all you need to do all the content in the game. And that also has it on there. So that can also allow you to drop it as well. Excuse me. And that comes from a dungeon. Zombie Jesus says, is it interesting? It is interesting that scribing will be free next patch. Oh, I didn't realize they're making it free for everybody, man. I missed that. Oh, that's crazy. Okay. Robert Miller says there's a taunt. He's got the arc taunt. What taunt, do tanks run now, Crafty? Crafty, that's a whole video that I need to make, man. I need to make that video.
Shielding. This is the creative side of subclassing that so many players are really going to enjoy. And this is just the beginning of the creativity that subclassing is bringing to ESO. Perhaps the most interesting changes coming to endgame PvE will be seen in both the healer role and 12-man raid comping in general. And I've made videos for both of these topics that you can check out here. And if these videos haven't popped up,
then he hasn't made them yet. Cool. All right. Well, we're finished there. We'll jump into the game and I'll catch up on the chat here too, because I want to go over a few things. Do you guys want to do tank healer or DPS first? Let me put up a poll. And guys, the audio might get weird because I'm clicking out of ESO and it does that now. I know we did this last time and I didn't follow the poll, so I apologize. We're gonna follow it this time. All right, which role do you want to talk about first? And guys, when I say this, I mean that we're going to go through with like some good setups for those roles. What are the skill lines that are going to be used, okay? And I probably should have refreshed myself on the DPS because I don't know if I can do it. I know I can do several of them, but I can't do an exhaustive list. And I know I can on the other ones. I should have. Oh, well, I'll put up the poll anyways. All right, vote now. And I guess I gotta hop in on somebody here in a second. So, yeah, he's mostly a DPS. Don't watch him very much. Cool. He isn't tanking with a two-hander. Scrub. Oh my gosh. All right, there's just some memes and jokes, guys. Nothing serious. Nobody take those as really insulting. Here's my unkillable build bang shell. Okay, all right. There isn't too many comments. Okay, Nani says I get sponsorship offers all the times. No thanks. Yeah, that's the other thing is like people will know that creators are cheap or whatever. I've gotten some in the past, and it's like they want you to push something, right? And it's like, what am I going to make? How much am I going to make from this? Is this a good product? So for me, so I mentioned, but I've been poor. Being poor is not a threat to me. Okay, I know I'll be fine because I've been there, right? So if you got, it's not really a threat to me. So my integrity is, you know, incalculably more than like the selling, the selling out nature of like. But then the other thing, like even if you're just considered like just interested in money, like there's certain websites, and I won't mention which ones, but related to ESO that have so many ads on them, and you're like, dude, at what point like are you just completely degrading the user experience to make a buck? Like how much extra money are you making here? Because if you're not making a boatload of money, how does this feel worth it to you? You know, like it's the programmers call this the inshitification of the internet, because it's like, yeah, their companies want them and pay them to like make things worse for the end user. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't understand. Oh, zombie raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, there we go. Zombie G says Scribe is going to be base game, and you will probably still have to do the super long quest and farm all the stuff. What about a full pet build? The only thing I might try was subclassing. Oh, full pet build. Daedric did one of those the other day, Zombie Jesus. He actually brought it to the trial. He said it parsed 120K, and I asked, and he was kind enough to put it in the DPS help channels. So you can go look at the DPS help channels for a full pet build. I think it was 9 pets, if I'm recalling correctly. Ace says it's not as much about paying for healthcare, it's paying the outrageous price of healthcare. Healthcare in the U.S. is way too expensive. Yeah. For sure, Ace. Yeah. Same difference, I guess. Nani says $1. Yeah, that's how much they want to pay you. Yeah, is $1 worth your integrity? Oh my God, 9 pets, Lyriel says. Daedric says, pitch me some alpha male IQ poo booster pills. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my goodness. How many were cute though? Better have been a bear. Yeah, I don't think many of them were cute, Lyriel. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think they were cute at all. All right. Oh man, let's end this poll. Ending the poll. What do we got here? It doesn't pop up to the on the screen on chat, I guess. So 50% said healers, 25% tanking, 25% DPS. So we're gonna get on a healer, and we'll run through it real quick. Let me think about what I want to do. I think we're gonna get on Dark Scales Mini Eyes, my Arcanist healer, to show you this. Okay, guys. The situation that we're in is that there are 2 main skill lines that you're going to want in a raid group for a healer. Well, there's more than that. Let me walk through it. Okay, there's a lot of flexibility. So the one that you're always going to want, okay, well, two technically, okay, is green balance in the ward. Okay, and why do you want that? Because of, if you look here, maturation gives minor toughness, which increases when you heal a target, which increases their max health by 10% and for 10 seconds. This is the only place to get this buff in the game. It is a unique buff that the green balance skill line has, and you will always want it in your group. Now, as a huge bonus to that, they also have your flowers up here. And you know what? Maybe I can just go talk to the lady. Or use a scroll. Maybe I have a scroll so we can actually slot them so you guys can see it a little bit easier. Green balance. Oh, what do I want to swap out? We'll swap out siphoning. Sure. Okay. You also get your budding seeds, which is an amazing heal. One of the best heals in the game. Also gives us energy. Provides a burst heal after the end of a hot. Incredibly good, okay? Most of these other heals, pretty much all of them, not that great. There's a reason you could want to use Grove. There's a reason you could want to use Fungal Growth for the major and minor buffs. Guys, I did a video on this that I was editing earlier today. It'll be done in a day or two where I talk about starting as a warden base, okay? Other things here are nice to haves. There's bonus healing. There's major mending for low health targets. That's absolutely epic for heal checks. But the main thing is, like, for group buffs is the maturation passive. Now, there is also the Winter's Embrace skill line, and it's making sure that you have AoE major resolve. Another 10% reduced damage for the group, 9%, whatever. Close enough. And this is one that I think is probably going to be ran by a tank moving forward, because there's literally nothing else from the skill line that really benefits us as a healer. Okay, so if you're a base warden, maybe you keep this skill line. Okay, but otherwise you're probably not gonna grab it. Crafty Pappy says, "What do you think about an Arc Warden Necro healer?" Yeah, great, man. It's great. So we'll just go through all of the skill lines, guys, and we're going to go through it pretty quickly here. So Curative Rune Forms, a really good skill line. Okay, really good skill line. It has Curative Surge. A lot of people think this is a meme, but for pure heal checks and for a lot of situations, it's S tier. I mean, Zamaja Painful, any heal check, the only problem is it's only 4 meters wide. So you can't always hit everybody in the group. It's not nearly as wide as a combat prayer, but if you have everybody stacked up, or if you're doing a heal check, absolutely S tier. I again tend not to use it just as your constant spammable, because it's better to keep all your hots up, and it lasts so long that like it doesn't always make sense to use it all the time. But when you want to use it or when you need it, it's absolutely amazing. Okay. Is there a list of places where heal beam bugs out somewhere? Frog, yeah, that is a problem. Thank you for bringing that up, Frog. Some people, yeah, it does seem to bug. I don't know if it's places. Frog, I think it might just be desync. I don't know. I haven't tested enough to know. I don't know of any list out there, but yeah, sometimes that's one of the reasons why it's not always recommended, because it does seem to bug. A big issue for a lot of people is like one of the things you want to make sure you do is aim it up. Don't aim it at the floor. If you aim it into the ground, it won't go as far as it can. But even with that, even aiming it up, sometimes it just bugs. I tend to use it for heal checks because everybody's standing in position and not moving, and then you don't have to worry about the desync issue as much. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry I don't have a good answer for you. If anybody does, drop it in the comments. I was looking forward to try it out. Wasn't sure. Okay, yeah. It's great. It's great. Ruin Mend is a single target heal. It's pretty meh. It's pretty middle of the road. Not amazing. You could probably find a better one. If you don't have anything else, it's fine. Glyphic of the Tides. And again, am I not... Did I not? Hold on. Oh, I have it as my base. What am I doing? Glyphic of the Tides. So your Pillager's Prophet healer in the new meta will most likely either be at least in my groups, either be dropping Glyphic of the Tides, which is probably what they'll be doing, is dropping. You don't need the ulti. So before, what we were doing in really sweaty groups is using a replenishing barrier, because if you look at this, it gives you back 4 ultimate every time the shield dissolves. So you could get up to at max like 48 ultimate just from this ability. And then if you have a decisive staff, you could potentially get more from it. So that was the reason why you would use this. I think we're going to have even more ulti gen, and you just, on the Pillager's Prophet healer, they're going to have a few more, they're going to choose some skill lines. They're going to help them with more ulti gen. Even though you can do it now, it'll be even easier next patch. And so I think instead of doing that, you'll be dropping Glyphic of the Tides. It provides major protection, which is really nice for heal checks and just reducing your damage. It also heals for a ridiculous amount. But the main reason we use it is because it provides more weapon and spell damage. That's what it's a unique buff. The only other thing that you might want to run is or I guess I can just look at it, is the Storm Atronach. If the Pillager's Prophet is dropping Storm Atronach, I don't necessarily. I think this is a tanking skill line more likely. So I think it's more likely that we'll see the tanks running it, but it could be an option. Okay, so I think somebody will be running Curative Rune Forms. Okay, for the Glyphic of the Tides, Curative Surge. That's my preferred morph. Both morphs are fine. The Tidal Chakram on an Arcanist, you always want to be gaining and losing Crux. I've got a video dedicated just to that in the healing playlist on my channel, so you can go look at it, and maybe I'll try to get it somewhere on the website in the near future. But Xena's Empowering Disc, guys, they have changed this to where it picks 6 people and it just keeps those 6 people, and it's basically ruined this skill. I think they did that for PvP so that it couldn't buff everybody in a big ball group. They're trying to make ball groups or make it harder, I guess, not as overpowering ball groups. And it sucks because it ruined it for us. So probably we'll be using something else, but it is here in dungeons. Totally fine. Use it in dungeons. And it also provides those minor recoveries, which are even more important in dungeons. Fleet-footed Gate is just a nice to have. Remember that on an Arcanist, you always typically want to be generating and then using Crux. Healing Tides increases your healing done by 4% for each active Crux. Did they buff that? Has that always been 4%? I thought it was 2. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, that's 12% if we're at max healing. That's ridiculous. That's a stupid amount of heals. And you got curative serves? That's crazy. Okay. Hideous Clarity. You've stared too long into the abyss. When you generate Crux, you restore a bit of mag and stam. That's just a little bit nice for recoveries. Erudition increases all of our mag and stam recovery by 18%. Huge for recoveries. And then Intricate Ruin Forms, your status as Illuminatus reduces the cost and increases the strength of your damage shields by 10%. Just a nice to have. Doesn't make or break anything. Mine says 3% on live right now. Okay, they did buff this. Okay, that's crazy. It doesn't. Yeah, it's 2 and then 4. Okay, that's nuts. Thanks, Frog. Appreciate that. Polarline has the resource buffs too. What if both healers run it? Crafty, I think both healers could run it. I think probably one of them still runs a Warhorn. I think we have. I don't know. I have to look into the ulti situation and the set changes, to be totally honest with you, but probably both of them wouldn't run this. And honestly, there's a lot to be said about the healers probably not overlapping more than just one skill line. This one could be it, but it's kind of whatever. Having an Arcanist as your base, guys, so that your class mastery for things like Trample, here it generates a Crux. So you can use Trample to generate your Crux for you, so that you're always generating it. There actually doesn't really need to be a reason for you to consume Crux anymore. Like if you're at 3 and you would generate another Crux, it doesn't count. So probably just stay at 3 Crux now, to be totally honest with you. So maybe you don't even need to generate Crux anymore, actually, or drop Crux anymore. You won't get the benefit of Hideous Clarity, but it's not that big of a deal. Honestly, if this is going to be on your pillager healer, you might have too high of recoveries. You're going to have that problem with your freaking clicker finger hurting because you're trying to drop mag so often. So, yeah, I guess you don't need to use Crux anymore if you don't want to. So, yeah, you'll want to generate it somehow, but you don't need to be casting a thing that uses it. So, this is a great skill line. Somebody your pillager's prophet healer will have it. Green balance, somebody needs to have it. So one of you will grab this. And you're going to notice there's a lot of that. Somebody needs to grab it. It doesn't really necessarily matter with a lot of this stuff. Living Death. Living Death is a great skill line. A lot of people don't realize this, but if you actually look down at corpse consumption, this is effectively as good as a Nightblade's ability where they just drink a potion. It's a lot harder to do because are you going to be consuming so it generates 10 ultimate every time you consume a corpse up to once every 16 seconds. So it's 30 ultimate every 48 seconds. Are you going to be consuming a corpse on cooldown? Probably not, but it is something to keep in mind. That's 2 casts of your Spirit Mender. Right after that, you could consume a corpse. That could be one way to keep track of that timer, but probably not. But there is a lot of ultimate to be generated here. So, you know what? If we're thinking about our Pillager's Prophet healer, though, probably what I would do, if we're gonna like make a build here and not just run through all of these, probably what I would is it siphoning? Yeah. Probably what I would do is I don't even know about green. Well, we're just gonna replace green balance. There's a lot of options. Get Catalyst, extra 30 ultimate. You're in a good spot. If you need more recoveries, which you won't, you could grab siphoning. Honestly, it's probably like more than you even need. And if you really needed more ultimate, Living Death, this would be the way to go. The cool thing about this is siphoning, you don't necessarily want to run any of these skills. So there is a situation. I'm just going to free up some skill points so we can talk about all this. So Funnel Health is better than Radiating Regen for doing the same job. It's also really good in dungeons. So this is one of the skills you could slot. If you wanted a single target burst heal, Healthy Offering is a good one to go. These are both situational. So you could use Funnel Health in Vast. You could use it in the new trial, a handful of other places. Empowering Disc. Wait, hold on. I'm behind on this. Plarline has the... what if both healers run Empowering Disc? Crafty Pappy is asking. Crafty Pappy, it doesn't smart target, man. It doesn't smart target. So that's I think, if I had to guess why it doesn't smart target, it's probably because of ESO's back end. If there might not be something that tracks who exactly has a given buff and where the source of it is from, and then has somebody else get it from, it's okay to get it from a different source. that is probably something that would create more lag because there's more calculations going on. And so if I had to guess, that would probably be why it doesn't smart target. But yeah, it doesn't, man. Even with 2 people running it, it doesn't always get everybody, which is super annoying and kind of sucks, to be totally honest with you. Yeah. That passive is great for Necros that use Corpse Buster in IA. Oh, okay, cool. Good to know, Zombie. So yeah, great single target burst heal. It's really cheap and pretty effective. It's not the biggest burst heal, but it's super cheap, especially when you compare it to the other big burst heals. And if you have reduced cost jewelry on, siphoning strikes, if you want it, you don't need to run cripple. Drain power is only for DPSing. It heals guys, but it doesn't ever heal enough. Other things you get here, a little bit of max stam and mag, which does increase your heals. Increase healing for each siphoning ability slotted, which might be 0. So might not do anything. And then you get a little bit ultimate whenever you cast a siphoning ability, which there's not a reason to be casting these very often, except for situationally, as we mentioned. So you're really just taking the skill line for this ultimate. But the good news is on healers, you can only slot 2 skill lines worth of skills anyways, if you take ones that give you skills to slot, which not everyone does. So then if you went Living Death, now you can create and consume corpses, and you're potentially getting 60 ultimate more every 45 seconds. Pretty huge. So there you go. Enduring Undeath, both morphs of this are great. One is more of a heal. The other one can cleanse. And can cleanse very cheaply compared to Purge from the PvP skill line. Render Flesh is, oh my gosh, did I not get enough skill points? Really? Everything costs so many more skill points. It's ridiculous. This is why you need more skill points, guys. Get them now. Resistant Flesh. This is your big burst heal. It is more expensive, but it's even bigger. So it's huge. You also get the Necro Res if you want it or need it. You also get Braided Tether, which can be very good. It doesn't always work everywhere great, but it's a very good heal. You probably don't even slot all 3 of these. Probably you run Intensive Mender unless there's a bunch of corpse in a given fight, and then you either pick Enduring or Braided Tether, your choice, but then you got to put it, somewhere back here. Typically, you don't need to run. Usually, you're going to be running Energy Orb. Your Echoing Vigor, you're going to keep running. Wall, you're going to keep running. Combat Prayer and Illustrious Healing. You're pretty much never going to take those off. You can drop some of them in certain situations, but it's like the average player should not be doing that. And that's 5 skills. That means you have 5 other skills to slot something here. So Trample for that major heroism. If you're on Pillager's Prophet, you want to be running this. So that's a 6 skill you're not going to change. You need to generate Crux. So here I do it on Healing Bond. You could also do it with Trample. So you could maybe take this off and save yourself a spot. Now you got a little bit more room. You could run Intensive Mender. You're going to run that, and then you're going to run one of these other skills to create and consume a corpse for the ulti gen. And you can see that you're already kind of like you're running low on skill slots here, guys. Because if you run, someone needs to be running Altar, right? Somebody, and if it's you, then now your entire back bar is full. This is where you're going to run your Glyphic, and now you've got 1 flex spot left. Okay, so that's kind of where you're at with this. I mean, it works really well, but I could see this being your Pillager's Prophet healer. To be totally honest with you, I think your biggest problem is are the recoveries too good? And if they are, then you can reduce them artificially a few different ways. First off, making sure all your jewelry is increased spell power would be the first thing I would do. Making sure your CP, you don't have, something that's giving you recoveries. And then if you absolutely needed to, I know this sounds crazy, but you could unspec from some of these. But I think this would probably be okay. I think it'd probably be okay with no reduced cost jewelry, and you could probably run this spec just fine. Let me see, what do we got here? Chicken says, thanks to your video, I know about Ulrich's skill point finder. Oh, good, man. You didn't know about that before. Great. I'm glad that's helpful, man. Necro-Res is the best tank ult I use. Yeah. I mean, it's excellent, honestly. And you want to have 1 Living Death skill on your front bar, guys. And this will provide you with extra mag recovery on Replenishing Barrier. But on some fights, my recoveries are too good, and I don't even want the barrier for the passive. And what you could do is you could slot Renewing Animation. And then if you wanted to, I would probably tend to keep Intensive Mender because it only lasts for 8 seconds. I would tend to keep it on my front bar. If you recast this after 4, it will create a corpse. So if half or more of the duration has gone by, it will create a corpse whenever you recast it, or when it expires, it will. So that's how you could generate more corpse if you need to. And yeah, this is your this is your build. I guess you could do that if you wanted to, and have even more. Probably there's some other stuff you might want to run depending on what's going on. If you need the party spread out, you might do that. A lot of other things, but I think this is one healer. So curative, siphoning, and living death. Let's see what else we can do. I could see this being our pillager's prophet healer. Let's actually look at. Let's actually hop over and we'll start with a warden base, because I know many of you will be starting with a warden base, and that'll be really helpful. I think I used my Brittleden. We got the Moana swirl here going on, which I assume is probably a Maori, not a Maori thing. It's probably a I don't know, Polynesian. I'm not sure. South. I don't know. I'm not sure what people group exactly. I know a lot of like the Maori and various smaller. What are they called? Anyways, the people groups that are essentially live on small islands share a lot of the same ancestry, so they share a lot of the same symbolism and stuff like that. Let me see. I think it's really cool, to be honest with you. I come from a white trash culture, so we don't really have as cool of stuff. Oh yeah, Oryx, same. Thanks for that. Okay, cool. Oh, apparently a lot of people know about Oryx. That's great. Red says, just tuning in. What did I miss? Oh man, Red, we are going over what the meta, or what are some likely specs right now for healers, because that's what everybody voted on. For the new meta, we kind of talked about some of the patch notes, which are very light, and then we kind of looked at a video that was done by 81 Puppies, where he was kind of suggesting a new meta option. Somebody asked me to react to it, so we did. I think a lot of his video was for entertainment purposes, but we talked about it and it was fun, so it was entertaining. It fulfilled its purpose. Buzzard says, do players no longer stand in channeled focus? Channel focus is a tank ability for the most part, Buzzard, and you should stand in it when you can, but you don't need to. If you have to move, you don't need to recast it necessarily, although you can, because it's really cheap. So if you give me a more specific question, hopefully that answered it, but I'd be glad to follow up. Okay, so we're on a warden, so we got green balance already. So typically, guys, we want somebody in our group providing us with minor endurance and minor intellect. Enchanted growth is one way to do that. I don't think it's the best way. So just keep that in mind, but it is there. You know what? Maybe we should hang on to it. Enchanted growth. I'm sorry. Did I say enchanted forest? Enchanted forest is a really good heal for situations where there's a heal check, or there's a lot. It's really cheap, and so it's better than barrier in a lot of situations, because you can immediately recast it, because you generate 20 ultimate if the initial heal is used on a friendly target under 50% health, and it only costs 90. So this is like a situational heal check. Great skill. Most of these other ones aren't good. You can use Lotus Flower for the Minor Prophecy and Minor Savagery passive, but that's really the only reason to use it for the most part. Our second skill line. So if we don't have a tank running Expansive Frostcloak, which I think we will moving forward, but if we don't, then we run this skill. And the rest of this, we can apply Brittle. You actually use Arctic Blast, and that could apply Brittle very easily around you. Probably not going to be running it, though, okay? That's probably going to be one. Let's actually go ahead and swap this out. Another skill line that is really good is the Shadow skill line. And the reason is Refreshing Path provides us with that minor courage. Minor endurance and minor intellect. It also provides with major expedition, and it's a decent heal. So pretty nice ability. The speed is actually quite nice. You can also apply AoE, major cowardice, for your group, and there are certain niche situations where you want to do this. The other skills you're not going to run. For a passive, I'll just spec into them so we can see here. 50% recoveries from refreshing shadows, really nice. Shadow barrier doesn't really matter. It provides us with major resolve. We're getting that from other sources. More max health, we don't need it. And then increase the duration. It just makes your refreshing shadows tick for 12 seconds versus only 10. So this is a good skill line and one you might want to run for refreshing paths just to have an extra heal on your bar. You don't have to, but it's an option. And then again, we're probably not going to have to run expansive frost cloak, but if we did, we could. And then we want to look at like, well, what else do we want to spec? I think Robert, you were talking about the Templar. We can run through all of these real quick. I'll expand them all out. So first up, Warden, we already know. You know, we don't need the animal companions. Dragon Knight, none of these are worth taking as a healer. You could run them, guys. You might be asked to run some of these, right? You just could, but you don't need to, and probably it doesn't make sense to. Earth and Heart, if you wanted to run igneous weapons, would make sense, and you could Stone Giant. If you're in a dungeon or something, you probably wouldn't need to worry about Stone Gianting, but you could run igneous for your group. But otherwise, you don't need to run anything from the Dragon Knight skill line. From the Sorcerer skill line, oh man, I gotta look. Yeah, in case. So in case, here, we'll just put it on. In case morphs to Vibrant Shroud. Yeah, and that this is a source of AoE Major Main and AoE Minor Vitality. This could be a skill you might want to run it in certain very niche situations. So it's one where you might be asked to spec into for some reason. And you could also provide the Sork buffs. The Sork unique buff, I believe, is down here. Yeah. Whenever you cast a dark magic ability, you grant minor prophecy. But I think this is going to be covered by something else, so probably not going to need this. So that's dark magic. I think it's really just in case there, and I think it's very niche. I don't think that most people should be running it. Is there something else? I think there's one other. So the other thing is like, yeah, could we be asked to run a Storm Atronach? Maybe. Probably are. I don't really think it's going to be very likely, but we could have to go into Daedric Summoning because of that. And then Storm Calling. So I'll actually put it on here so we can see. Oh, we already have Dark. I got to replace the Dark Magic. Surge here, guys. Power Surge can provide a bit of a heal and an AoE. It's kind of like the Nightblade's channeled health, whatever the Swallow Soul other morph is that we looked at, where it heals a couple of people in an area around you kind of passively. It works differently, but it does a similar effect, so it can work on weird AoE fights. Not really probably worth it other than that. Some of these will provide you, so also from the other Daedric skill line, it can reduce your ultimate cost by 15%. You might want to spec into it for that. There's a lot of reasons. Nothing else really from the skill line, though, is going to do very much, but just know that that's another one that you could use. Again, does it make sense to? Are you really going to want to? I don't think so. Power Stone. This goes up to 15%, reducing the cost of your ultimate. So then you could be dropping Storm Atros with that if it was needed or you wanted to somehow. It's going to depend on the trial, and we'll have to see how the group comp. I think it unlikely, but I just want to mention it. We already talked about, do we do Shadow? Yeah, we already talked about Shadow. We actually already have it. We already talked about siphoning with Catalyst. You could run it for the passives. It would be fine. If you're Rojoing, you could run, if you're Rojoing, you could run siphoning attacks to get back more recoveries. That would work. That brings us to Templar. I'll have to walk through because I'm getting a little fatigued and I don't remember where everything is at. Spear Shards. This can be slotted, and I guess we'll just slot it here. So this can be used. Luminous Shards grants Magicka and Stamina, 4,000 for the synergy. Pretty nice. You can throw it to a target. Places this could be very useful are like Teleria hard mode, or Teleria, I'm sorry, just the last boss in Dreadcell Reef. Doesn't have to be hard mode. You can throw this to your tank, and it gets to them easier than an orb. Anywhere where your tank is standing off by themselves, it could also be on Basai in Rockgrove. You could throw them a bone. I believe it shares a cooldown with Energy Orb, so they don't really stack. For the passives, I don't really think there's anything that's insane down here. More critical damage, don't need it. Minor protection, Berserk, we don't need it. It's for us. Burning Light, this is kind of a cool ability, but we don't need it. It increases our, weapon spell damage and armor. Oh, does armor? Did they? Has that always been there? The armor? Really? I don't remember that. Did they change this? Armor by 6%? I don't. Can someone check on live? Balance Warrior, Templar, Atrix Spear. I don't think that was armor before, was it? I don't remember, man. I'm getting tired. Um, I'm not getting tired. I'm getting hungry, is I think what it is. Um, let me see. So one skill from there, really nothing else. There's nothing from Dawn's Wrath that we really want. Restoring Light is kind of a same situation where like there's one skill, and that's going to be the Ritual, Extended Ritual. Huge heal, great heal, massive area, ridiculous area. And it also provides a synergy, which is nice for everybody inside it. Plar gets fat healing buff and the resource sustain skill. Yeah, you can get those a lot of different places, Robert, but yeah, that's fair. Hidden change, I don't remember that one. Okay, yeah, I feel like that one snuck under the radar too. What else do we have? Mending, 6% increase depending on the target's wounds. Not as good as the curative rune forms on an Arcanist, right? Sacred Ground is really for blocking for tanks. Doesn't really matter. Missing the brownie collagen. Lightweaver. This allows us to do a channel something for 2 seconds and can be considered blocking. Can be useful for rezzing people, I guess. And then the faster res here with Master Ritualist. Hopefully we keep people alive and we don't have to use the faster res. But hey, sometimes people just stand in red. You can't help them. You could also use here Radiant Aura to provide those minor buffs that we would otherwise be getting from Refreshing Path. Minor endurance and minor intellect, so it's there. Also, if we wanted a big single target burst heal, we have Breath of Life or Honor of the Dead. Both are fine. So that's what we could get from the skill line. It's fine. It's good. I mean, Extended Ritual's cool. We got another heal we could slot on a bar. We are in the same situation as before, where it's like, where are we slotting things? We're kind of running out of space. If we wanted to run Radiant Aura, we could slot it here, I guess, because we wouldn't be probably running both of these. So it's an option. I think the cool thing about healing is that there's a bunch of options, you know? So that's really what it's all about. Cool. Necro. What do we got here? We've got, yeah, do you want to run any of these? Everybody's going to be running Gravelord, so probably you don't need to run this, you know, for a Colo. All the DPS are going to be running, at least currently. Do you want to run Bone Tyrant? You could run Bitter Harvest for a bunch of ulti-gen if you have a bunch of corpses. You'd probably run this on your Pillager's Healer if there's a bunch of corpses and it made sense to, because it could work even better than the other ones. But yeah, doesn't. These other passives are not nothing, but they're not a reason to choose this skill line. Living Death is a really good skill line, so it's much better than. There's 3. We already went through it, right? But there's 3 heals on this bar. You also get if you have a negative effect on you, which happens surprisingly often, 12% increase healing, kind of ridiculous. Critical strike chance to targets on low health, like that's crazy for heal checks. Generates ultimate and has a bit of recoveries. I think it's just better than the Templar skill line, but it's whatever you want to run. And then we already again covered Curative Rune Forms, which has some of the best, healing buffs. I mean, this going to 12%, just 12% increase healing. That's just nuts. Just 12% increase healing. Like that's so good. And then the recoveries, 18% recoveries. Like that's crazy. So, you've got a flex spot here is basically you've got really 2 flex spots. You can kind of run whatever you want. I think you need to make sure you have minor intellect and minor endurance covered somehow, and then you could be running many things here. So it's really a choose your own adventure for the healers. In certain situations, you might be asked to run specific things, and you'll have to do that. So that is it for healers, guys. And as I realize whenever we do these, there's never enough time. So I'm working on videos to kind of explain all this stuff in a more condensed format, but I also think that you guys having a chance to ask questions and talk about it is a good thing, so we'll also keep doing these. Do I have a skin on? Yeah, I do. I have this is from the new trial. There we go. It's hit and miss. This is kind of cool. The face makes you look like a burned wooden doll, wooden Pinocchio, I think someone said. But yeah, it's better than the body markings, and it could be really cool, with some different stuff. But yeah, well, cool guys. I am going to grab some dinner, and we'll be back in 1 hour to run hard mode Rock Grove. I'll be DPSing that, running with Nani, and that's the plan. Yeah, we'll just call it here. I appreciate everybody for dropping in. It's so fun chatting with everybody. We'll try to do more of these streams. Frog, good to see you. Goose, it's been a bit, by the way. Good to see you. Chicken, Robert Miller, Buzzard, Red. I appreciate everybody. Zombie Jesus, Crafty Pappy. Who else we got? We had a bunch of people. Lyriel, Daedric, Nani, Ace. It's good to see you, Ace. Who else? Who else do we got? We got someone. Jackie, one of the first times saying hello. No, not one of. I think we've chatted at least one other time. Now that I say that, Zoss is trash. I appreciate your experience. Silverwood, good to see you. And now that I remember what this username is attached to, doubly good. Silver and I had a chance to meet. I met a few people at PAX West last year. So I got to meet people from the channel because I was at PAX West and I invited anybody. Hey, Zero to here, Semper Fi. Cheers, man. I'm not a Marine, just to be clear. Jose, appreciate you dropping in. James, yeah, everybody. I don't know. There's a bunch of other names here. I'm missing people, but I appreciate all of you guys. And we'll see you guys. A lot of you will see you in an hour. The rest of you guys have a great evening, and we'll catch you later. Thanks, everybody. All right, guys.